episode 60 of FPL BlackBox. No Mark again tonight. I think the Dunkel red card is what finally brought him to his knees. But I am joined by the king of YouTube himself. It's Mr. Andy Mears, Slippers. Let's talk FPL. How are you, mate?
I'm doing good, thanks. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I checked Mark's team. As soon as you asked me, I went and checked Mark's team and saw the dunk thing. No Fernandes, swore all the Man United shirt for Bruno Fernandes. So yeah, I was happy about that.
Apparently my mic wasn't working. Streamlabs is not my friend today. Can everyone hear me right now? Let's just see. I don't know why it does this. Because the sound was...
It's your mic.
Yeah, it's my mic. But hopefully... No, you'll get that confirmation of about 1 million things saying it's okay. I've reset it. This happened to me earlier.
Mine's perfect.
Fine now.
That's
fine
better.
now.
Back now. Happy days.
I even did a test record, didn't I? I did a test record. We both sounded fine.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know. I couldn't hear it, but
well,
no.
Anyway, all I said was I gave you a lovely introduction as well. Maybe it'll come out on the podcast version. I just said no Mark, but joined by Slippers himself, Andy Mears. But yeah, it's good to have you, mate.
Yeah, good to be here. I'm looking forward to... I've not been on a podcast for ages, it feels like. So used to going solo now, but yeah, let's talk double game weeks.
We've got a little bit to talk about, haven't we? We've got, there's a double game week. There's the injury to Jota. I mean, people with Weghorst have had some, good news in the fact that he's kind of back and looks like he's available now. But yeah, we've got so much to talk about. So let's get straight into it. Let's start with your game week, last game week before we look ahead. 83 points. You beat Mark and I. Do you want to just run through your team and talk about some of your standouts?
Yeah, I was really happy, and I'm just going to stall as I bring my team up. Oh yeah, okay. So I went all in on Man United. I just couldn't resist not going for it. So they all got double digits. De Gea, Ronaldo, Fernandes all got 10 or more. Fernandes obviously with the last minute goal, which was so good. Obviously the goal counts wherever it's scored, but the fact it was 97th minute just made it even sweeter, especially when he knocked Ronaldo down in bonus as well. So that was actually probably the second highlight of the week. I think my major highlight was Craig Dawson coming off my bench with a 91st minute shoulder goal and coming on for Cancelo. So yeah, overall pretty good. I mean, flop of the week was Trossard. That is the most awful transfer I've made all season. It was just beautiful how he didn't play the first game, which I kind of knew was a possibility, but the fact he didn't even make it to 60 minutes in the second game was just topped off how bad he's been for me. So yeah, pretty good week. And I bought Fernandes in knowing that would cost me an extra transfer this week without going to Salah, so it paid off. I was really worried about Salah, but yeah, happy days. And obviously we'll talk later on about whether I'm going to keep him or not.
Yeah. So again, we're having some sound issues. I've turned you up a little bit. Which is why we use clean feed, and Mark's in the chat sort of obviously saying things. Apparently it's better now. Sorry, Andy. I mean, I would say this doesn't normally happen, but it literally happens every week. So
you're just literally taking over from Mark.
I know. I feel like I've got all of his stress, all the weight that he carries on his shoulders on this now. But yeah, hopefully it's better. I mean, what made you get Trossard?
Do you know, I can't even remember now. I feel like I've had him for weeks. I think it was the first double. And it was between him and, I want to say, Rafinha. I'm sure that someone in the chat will tell me I'm wrong, but I think it was between him and Rafinha, and I just decided to go for the double game week, the first one. And yeah, I got him in game week 22. I sold Son for Trossard and sold Broja for King. Oh my God, now looking back on that now, it just looks horrible. But yeah, I think that was it. And he didn't play in both games then, and I just got stuck with him. You know, you just get stuck with players sometimes. And I thought about transferring out for Rafinha a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't. And Rafinha hasn't done anything, so it hasn't really cost me too much, but it's still been really bad. Yeah, I won't be going there again anytime soon. Well, not for this season, that's for sure.
No, I liked the punt when you did it. Because you did it a while ago, didn't you? And I kind of thought, at the moment, at that time, I think Trossard was playing up front and his underlines were pretty good and everything.
He's on penalties as well, right? I'm pretty sure. Was he? He was on penalties, right? At one point? Am I wrong?
Has he ever taken a
ahead
penalty?
of Mopay at least.
Mopay and Gross. When Gross on the pitch, he normally takes them.
Yeah, but I don't think Gross was playing. I think he was ahead of Mopay in the pecking order. I could be wrong on that, but there wasn't much to go on, to be honest. I got sucked into double game week fever, and just got stuck with him since. And the funny thing is, he might even stay this week. I don't even know. He definitely ain't playing though. That's for sure.
It is. I mean, not to take the piss too much, but it's quite funny looking at some of the players in your side: Dawson, Livramento, Trossard, King, Regulon.
Regulon has not been good.
What is going on with Regulon?
I mean, Livramento, I mean, he's just cheap, right? So you get stuck with those players, that's fine. I wasn't necessarily expecting Cancelo to miss out, but obviously Dawson came on, so that was decent enough. But Regulon was frustrating. I knew he was a doubt to play both games in the double when I bought him, but to miss that Wolves game, that was a bit of a killer because I really thought he was going to play that. And he didn't even get on when Sessegnon went off because obviously they switched formations. So... yeah, I'm really happy with last week, and it's pushed me up the ranks loads. But I still feel like there's loads I need to do to this team to get it where I want it to be.
And as I've kind of teased in the description, you're thinking about a big hit, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't see me doing anything less than -12 at this point. And possibly I could be talked into more. I think there's certain. I mean, I've got to take a -4 to get Salah. And then there's just a couple of moves I want to make. And then I've got a decision to make about De Gea to Ramsdale I might do as well. It's another -4. Regulon might be out as well. That's another one. I could stretch to like -16, I think, genuinely.
So are you not considering the wild card then?
No, because for a lot of reasons. One, obviously, I won't be able to use the triple captain, which isn't the only reason. But I also think the wild card's going to be way more useful later. And taking the hits kind of sets me up for the next few weeks as well. And saves. I think if I wildcarded this week, I would also have to free hit next week. And I feel that I'm using 2 chips. Well, I could just take a few hits and save my wildcard and maybe my free hit, to be honest, depending on how I play the transfers. So I think if I was going to use it this early, I should have really done it in 24 or 25. I think it's too late now, to be honest.
Interesting, because I would have thought, when you're getting into the when you're debating a -16, that's normally around the time where I think, okay, maybe the wildcard is needed, but
I think when you're taking out a bunch of single game week players for double game weekers, I think there's a lot of value there already in the hits. Plus, obviously, if you're bringing in Arsenal players, there's an outside shot that double in 28, and I just don't think I need a full on overhaul. I think my hits can pay themselves back pretty quickly, and I think the wild card after game week 30 is going to be pretty good.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Yeah. We'll talk a bit more about your team kind of at the end of this. Just take a few things from the chat. Mark's in the chat. So hi, Mark. Miss you. Hope you're not too stressed with work. I finally understand why you have a breakdown every week now. Thanks to Streamlabs messing up, but it's fine. Thanks to everyone complimenting my haircut. That's really nice of you. And for complimenting my beer stein, which I got at a pirate bar in Sweden last week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
very cool.
Very cool. Right, let's have a quick look at my team. I got 78 points. De Gea in goal, also Livramento coming in for Cancelo, Trent and Dean, 6 and 2, Bowen Ramsey, who I bought in just because I nearly burnt a transfer. It's the first time that I've actually nearly burnt a transfer because I just didn't have anything that I really wanted to do. But in the end, I took Martinelli out for Ramsey just to free up a bit of money to help me get Salah. But I might end up taking Ramsey out anyway this week if I lose Ronaldo. Fernandes captain, 97th minute goal, like you said earlier, crazy. Mixed emotions given that I'm a Brighton fan, but we'd already lost at that point, so might as well let it be Fernandes that scores. Jota and Foden getting a goal, which was nice. Antonio, I mean, the less said about him, the better. Ronaldo there with 10. So it wasn't like pretty okay game week. Fernandes and De Gea doing damage. Got like a 1k green or something like that. So
can I just say, I'm just looking at your team now after you've just said you got some weird players in there like Livramento, who you have as well. You got Luca Dean instead of Dawson. At least Dawson did something this week. True. And the rest of them are pretty much the same. Antonio versus Broja. I don't think your team's that much different to mine, so it'd be interesting to see how many hits.
Well, why are you contemplating a -16 and I'm just going to do my 2 threes?
Because I haven't got 2 threes for one. I've only got 1. I had to bring in Fernandes last week. I'd be interested to hear about your transfers later because I don't know what they are.
No, mate, nor do I. I'm hoping to get some help from you, to be honest.
I'll talk you into some hits then.
I'm not completely averse to some hits, but I mean, there's no way I'm taking a -16. Anyway, that was my team, fairly standard. Take a look at Mark's team. So Mark bought in Dunk. I mean, that just kind of sums up the struggles that he's got. De Gea in goal and Dallo. So I did get a double clean sheet at least. Dunk, Trent, Regulon. Absolute nightmare. Didn't get anyone off the bench either because his bench was Cancelo, Martinelli and Mount. None of them played. Jota, Bowen and Foden, Dennis, Antonio and Ronaldo captain. And for the first half of that Brighton game, Mark must have been over the moon because Ronaldo scores early, nothing for Fernandes. And then Dunk gets sent off and Fernandes scores a 97th minute goal. You got to laugh, haven't you?
It was, and like to be fair, they were a little bit unlucky not to have more points, both of them. To be honest, like there was that. Was it a chat? I think Ronaldo squared it to Bruno, and he had a pretty good chance.
Yeah,
He just took so much time to shoot, and Sanchez, to be fair, got down and saved it. So it could have been more, but yeah, that was a killer because a lot of people I saw were on like maybe small red arrows that turned into big ones, or they were on a green that turned to red, and it's just to happen that late in the game is a bit of a killer. But I mean, Mark's kind of like a few people have been screwed over a bit by. I mean, Marcel wouldn't have played anyway, I guess, but having him red flagged is annoying. Same situation with Reguilon, like me, super frustrating. And Dunk getting 2 points. Hang on, so Dunk didn't even play the first game?
Yeah, he did. He got a clean sheet in the first game.
Well, how's he only on 2 points? Am I being stupid? It says 2 points there on screen. Did he not play the first game?
He did play the first game. He got five points in the first game, and then 3 for.
Okay, 3. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I am just being stupid.
Yeah, he got booked, I think, in the first game as well. Just to really rub it in. But
I thought he played.
If Mark had been doing Blackbox with me, Mark would have asked me what Brighton player to have got in, and I would have said Lamptey first, Webster second, because that's what I tweeted out as well. So he went and got.
I would have said Cucurella first, as we know.
He was. I put him under Dunk. I have very little faith. I mean, I didn't think Dunk.
I would have also put Webster ahead, by the way, because I think I think he's nailed, isn't he? And he's a little bit cheaper, but I'm sure Mark was.
But I would have said Webster's got no goal threat, so I don't know what I'm talking about. So. Great in the good standings then. So Fabio Borges is still top. Is OR's 1664, which every week is just crazy because he was so far behind me at one point. You know, I mocked him and said, "Oh, you know, he'll definitely catch me up, but I'll enjoy it while I can." And I got about 4 or 5 weeks to enjoy it, and then he overtook me. So massive credit to him. You're about mid-table. You're chasing Magnus Carlsen. You're at 52k. Magnus is at 29. And Mark is off the bottom. Joe is now at the bottom. Mark is up to 173,000 with a score of 67, which I think was the lowest out of all the... Oh, no, Tom Freeman. Oh, and Neil. Okay, he wasn't the bottom. Third from bottom then, which is fine. It was a pretty good week for the great and the good, though. I mean, only 2 of all the people on this list got reds, which was Neil and Tom Freeman. So, yeah.
Bruno captain.
Bruno captain.
Yeah. Avoiding Salah. I'm sure some of them had Salah as well, but no one captain Salah. They're obviously all going to go for double game weeks, which is... It's always my preferred play anyway, so yeah I guess it was Bruno that helped a lot. Yeah,
I mean, we're going to be talking, because I mean, everyone went for Bruno or Ronaldo in this, obviously, because they had the double, but the question mark is now, particularly with my team, well, not particularly with my team, I'm not the most important person ever, but for me, I've got to decide who to sell out of Ronaldo and Bruno, and it's a difficult choice.
I mean, that's pretty easy, honestly.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. What and changing? Well, it's not quite as easy as that, because it's changing team structure. It's There's a few factors in it which don't make it too easy. But yeah, anyway, we'll come on to that in a bit. In terms of transfers, though, I think this is really interesting. I mean, I've now got 106.3 team value, which is pretty nice. Which is the second at the great and the good. So far, it's 106.7. I've taken minus 16 worth of hits. Only 2 managers taken less than me, which is Tom and Zof. Mark's taken minus 36. You, though, have taken a minus 40, which is only beaten by Yavuz, who's taken minus 52. And now you're talking about a minus 12, minus 16. You don't normally take this many hits, do you?
So interestingly, this is a few seasons back now. So I think my best season was last year. Like, I think it was like 1,200 or something like that. The previous best season was just inside top 5k, and that year I remember it was 96 points worth of hits I took that season to finish top 5k. So I still need to take another 56 points worth this season. I don't know. I was actually thinking about this recently. I think. Like I was at 10k at one point this season. I dropped all the way down to 190k. Then I got back to 50k. Then I dropped again. Now I'm back at 50k, and I've just been up and down, up and down. I was thinking earlier, like last season, because I was ahead for so long, it's just so much easier not to take hits because you're already ahead. So your players are already going up in price. You've already got the players that everyone else wants. It's just a bit easier. I think that's possibly why. Plus, I am a bit trigger happy when it comes to hits, to be honest. But yeah, it's quite a lot. I didn't realise it was that lot to us. I don't look at it. I think I don't know. I think people have too many weird rules about hits. Like they hit a certain point, it's like, well, I can't take any more. I just try and weigh them up week to week. If I need them, I need them. If I don't, I don't.
I definitely don't. I definitely would never think, oh, I took a hit last week, so I'm not going to take a hit this week or something like that. But I have definitely made a conscious effort this season to take less hits, and it's difficult to know exactly how. I mean, my season's been pretty good so far, so obviously I've had good players and I needed to do less, and I've had to kind of risk it a bit less probably. But there's been multiple times where I've thought of taking the hit, and I think in previous seasons I would have done it, and I've tried to just be a bit more restrained, and I'd say it's working out. Having that patience is working out. In fact, when I've tried to hokey cokey and switch players out, my worst moves this season were when I took like Ronaldo out and then he got a brace against Arsenal. I took Vardy out and he got a brace against whoever it was. I tried to play the fixtures and it just went absolutely terribly. So yeah, I don't know. I think this season hasn't a bit like last season. It hasn't rewarded really kind of aggressive, dangerous play. I don't think it's been more suited for a bit more patience. But
yeah, possibly. But I do think it'd be interesting to dig deeper on this, because obviously you've been doing really well this season, so that probably makes you less adverse to or less likely to take a hit, I guess, because you're already doing well, and you probably don't need to kind of force it. Whereas maybe like me and Mark, I know at one point we were a bit closer, and maybe we just tried to force it. I mean, I could straight off the top of my head, I know one of them was taking Rafinha out before Norwich for a hit to get Foden, because Foden had just gone like mad, and I was then worried because he's gone up in price, and I did knee jerk a little bit for that. But yeah, one thing I've learned this season is it's definitely easier when you're ahead to play this game. I think it's much easier to be patient. Looking on last year, I was much more patient than this year.
I haven't been in this situation since I had my best season, which was about 4 or 5 years ago. Like I've just always been chasing. Second half of the season, I've been like 500k probably at this point, and had a decent end to the season. Like I'm a lot less stressed than I have been previously, trying to claw my way back up. And yeah, I do feel like I probably do need to do a bit less to kind of maintain it. But yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it, whether it's part of the strategy of why I'm doing well, or whether I'm doing well just because I'm doing it. So
yeah, exactly. It could be because you're taking less.
Exactly. I just want to pay a shout out to Greyhead's community tournament as well. This is Strikers, Keepers, Losers, Weepers. I don't know if you know this, Andy, but you were an MVP in this. You were selected. Do you know? Do you know your team name? Do you know which team you play for? They're all on the screen. No,
I can't. The thing is, I'm looking at it on YouTube, and it's always a delay for when you start speaking about it till it pops up. So you're gonna have to go because it's still not up on my YouTube channel yet.
Mark is doing very well. He's joint third, son of a gun. 26 goals scored. We played 14 games now, so we're getting quite far into this tournament. So everyone laughed because Mark was quite low down. I was the first pick, but my team is 13th, so we're not doing too well. Yeah, you were the MVP for Carol's Christmas Island, who were joint 10th. Of
course, yeah, FPL hints.
Yeah, but you've had 2 wins on the bounce, so be very happy with that.
Happy days.
But yeah, if you're interested in following this, make sure you check out Greyhead. Read his articles about Grey and the Good. Follow him on Twitter. He's a source of joy on Scout. I love reading his stuff. He's got such a good flair to things. Right, now let's talk about some of the important stuff. First of all, let's talk about double Gameweek 26. So there's 8 teams with a double: Arsenal, Burnley, Palace, Leeds, Liverpool, Spurs, Watford, Wolves. Before we dive into any stats, before we get into the kind of the nitty gritty of it, I'm guessing you're going to say that Liverpool and Arsenal, those are the 2 fixtures that kind of stand out. Is there anyone else here that you like the look of?
I think, obviously a lot of people have still got King and Dennis left over. I don't personally think there's too much reason to get rid of them. I know they've not looked great. Like under Hodgson, it definitely looks like he's trying to make them tighter rather than attacking as much as maybe they did under Ranieri, or tried to under Ranieri. I don't think there's any need to go mad there. There isn't really too many other good ones, really. I think Wolves, the problem is I think Wolves' fixtures are maybe slightly better for attack than defence, but apart from Jimenez, no one really wants any of their attackers. So defensively, I just think having to play Leicester and Arsenal is not ideal fixtures for a defensive return. Obviously, you can get someone like Sice or whatever for attacking returns maybe, but Yeah, there's not a huge amount of standouts. Obviously, Burnley back-to-back kind of helps a little bit. That's why people are looking at Weghorst. But apart from that, yeah, Liverpool and Arsenal are the clear, standouts. So Liverpool even like further ahead than Arsenal, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing the FPL show earlier, and I was saying I can't ever remember a better double game week for a top team than this. Can you? I mean,
yeah, it's mad.
It's mad. It is. I
mean, I know some people think that Norwich have kind of tightened up, but Liverpool are Liverpool, right? They're going to probably smash them. Norwich.
Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you in a second that they haven't.
Okay, yeah, I don't personally think they have either, really, and I think Liverpool will show us that's the case. And Leeds are just so bad defensively as well. I just don't see anything that's going to change between now and a few days' time. It's mad. Like it's when I think when Ben started talking about it on Twitter that this could happen in Gameweek 26, everybody knew what they were going to do this week. We're all going to triple captain Salah. It's barely any point in discussing it, really. Yeah, it's just too good. It's just too good.
It is. I mean, the big question, I guess, is the chip, right? So you mentioned triple captain being obvious. A lot of people I'm seeing debating on Twitter and on Scout are about using the bench boost, potentially. If you're taking as big a hit as you're thinking, is the bench boost not a consideration?
No. So let me just reiterate what I've just said. I don't think bench boost is necessarily bad this week if you've set your team up, especially if you wildcarded recently, because I'm assuming most people that wildcarded at least thought about a little bit about the bench boost when they did it. So I don't think it's bad. Some people will have played for this, but if you're not using the bench boost, then there's no discussion around whether you should use the triple captain. It's the most it's probably one of the most obvious moves you'll make this season. So for me, like my hits are all to get out a better first 11. I'm still going to be left with like Livramento, I don't know, maybe Trossard and Dawson and players like that on the bench. So it's not bench boost territory for me.
I've just been surprised with some of the reaction of a lot of people that I follow on Twitter and Scout, which is people saying that the triple captain's a no-brainer and the bench boost isn't even a consideration, and not even taking into account what kind of team that you've got. Because the way I see it is the triple captain is worth between 4 and 20 points, probably. I mean, Salah might get more than that because it's Salah, but I think we've had Sanchez and Aguero in the past, haven't we, who've hit like hat tricks and got a goal. Maybe
25.
25. I mean, 4 to 25 absolute max. I mean, the bench boost in a double game week is worth the floor's higher, if that makes sense, because it's probably about 8 to 10 because you're getting the twos times 2. And the ceiling is probably 30, 35, something like that.
But the problem is, though, most people don't have benches with double game week players. We're in a double game week, but most people's benches have single game week players. Again, unless you've wildcarded recently and maybe you have more. But I was listening to James on Planet FPL earlier, and we all know like game week 36 will be the next big double game week. There's going to be a few in between now and then, but they're going to be a bit smaller. Like game week 36 will be the big one because of the FA Cup and whatnot. And so a lot of people are looking to bench boost then. And also, by the sounds of it, there's going to be so many teams doubling that week, potentially. Obviously, things could change if there's loads of FA Cup upsets, but there'll be so many teams potentially doubling that most people are going to be able to bench boost, even if they haven't wildcarded, to set it up. So I think some people on Twitter and stuff have been looking at, like, people keep looking up, it's triple captain versus bench boost, who's going to score more? But the conversation should be, is there going to be a better triple captaincy opportunity? No. In fact, we've probably already had them with like Man United and West Ham with Bowen as well. And is there going to be a better bench boost opportunity? There probably is. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not really looking at it as, will my bench outscore Salah? It's, is there a better choice to use my triple captain?
If you've got a bench of Foster, Dean, maybe you're benching Bowen, or someone like that, or Antonio. There's good teams with good single game weeks this week. So I know there's always a good week for a triple captain because there's always going to be someone with a double.
Well, what's going to be better
fixtures.
Than Salah versus Norwich and Leeds?
No, nothing is going to be better for the triple captain. But his maximum is 20 to 25 points. I would say he's not going to get more. No one's hit 30 points, have they? Or Rooney did ages ago, but. We're talking 2025 absolute max. The bench boost is about the same, right? They're not massively dissimilar from each other. And we are going to get other opportunities for a triple captain who could hit 15 to 20 points. I'd say, we're going to get that opportunity again. Not as much potential as this, but it's going to be a good potential. And your team might not be as well set up for 36.
No, possibly not. But if there's going to be as many double game weeks as being touted by people who are way more better, at predicting fixtures than I am, I'm just repeating what I'm kind of listening to. Then it's going to be fairly easy to bench boost a mostly double game week bench. And if we can get, if for example, like my plan right now with a lot of people, and it will be the same as a lot of people's, if we can get through kind of like game week 27, 28, 29, 30, and then from 31 onwards look to wildcard. There's not a huge amount of weeks in between that and the bench boost anyway, so you should be able to set up fairly nicely. So I don't know. There will be some people out there with such good benches. They probably do need to give it serious consideration. But for me, like it's De Gea, Dawson, Trossard, and Livramento is what I'm looking at right now.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's an option for you. It's definitely not an option for me. I
think most people are in that same boat.
I was talking to Gianni the other day on one of the scout streams, for example, and he wildcarded like 2-3 weeks ago. So he's really well set up for this double game week. He's got about 8 or 9 double game week players and a ridiculously strong looking bench. So when it comes to 36, he's not going to be able to wildcard in 35 like a lot of people are going to do. But he's already used the wildcard early, which is what Chris Velvet Torpedo says, is that if you wait with the wildcard right until 35, you're not getting the maximum benefit from the most powerful chip that we have. I just like the fact that you get out the bench boost out the way. That's one of the main reasons why I would consider using it if my team was kind of set up. Because a triple captain, you can just use in any double game week. There'll be a decent player in any double game week with 2 fixtures who can get you 15 points. But the bench boost might not come around to be as nice if you haven't got the wildcard, for example, or if you want to use the wildcard like I'm planning on potentially using it in 28.
Yeah. Just you're not going to convince me.
Okay.
The thing is, I don't know if there is going to be like obviously Norwich and Leeds is so good. Like for example, Liverpool's other game to rearrange is Arsenal away. So whenever that gets put in, it's going to... I mean, Arsenal away is not necessarily a bad time to triple captain Salah, but it ain't as good as Norwich and Leeds at home. And if you look at like some other teams, like their fixtures that have got to be rearranged, like Spurs have a couple, but again, it's Arsenal and Brighton away. It's just not Norwich and Leeds at home. So I think unless, like I said, if you've wildcarded recently and you've played for the bench boost, that does make sense to probably stick to that. But for most other people, like there's just no real discussion about which chip to use, in my opinion. It's just fine. So obvious.
That's fine. Just trying to have a discussion. It's a good discussion.
No, I like it. Devil's advocate. I appreciate it.
One other question then. Devil's advocate again. Salah's minutes. Any concerns with the final coming up? Or do you not care?
Yeah, I think I think there is a concern for pretty much every Liverpool player, to be honest. I think Van Dijk will probably start both of them, although someone, I didn't have time to check it before the pod, but someone did say to me, I think he's played like 4 games in 10 days or something. So, I mean, they could play Konate and Matip in one of the games. There's nothing to say that won't happen. Tsimikas could play instead of Robertson. I guess Trent's got a little bit less competition, but Milner could play there. Obviously Diaz has come in and as Liverpool's recruitment has been recently, he's been brilliant and he looks really good, and he could play on the right. If Jota's fit, he could play on the right as well. So I do think there is a chance that Salah misses some minutes, but I don't think he's going to miss enough minutes where triple captain is not played.
I completely agree. Yeah. Cool. Right. Good. Let's do some stats then, because we like stats on Blackbox. That's normally Mark's line, but I thought I'd steal it. So I really wanted to do... We're going to get into team stats first. I really wanted to do the ticker because people like to see, it's great to say, oh, this team's had the best defensive stats, but if they've been first ranked on the ticker, it kind of takes a bit of the shine off it. Yeah, makes sense. But the tricky thing is because there's been so many blanks, tickers are quite hard to judge because they judge a blank as being like a bad game week. So what I did was I did a bit of manual stuff, which always takes longer than you think it's going to do. I've left the Excel bar in as well. But essentially what I did was I got up Lego Mane's brilliant spreadsheet, and I just looked at the last 6 for each club. And I kind of, this is just a disclaimer, by the way, I've kind of assigned them rankings based on what I think the rankings are. So there might be people that disagree. And I thought I'd put this screen up just so people can see it in case they massively disagree with me. But I think I've pretty much got it down. So what I've done is I've looked at the team stats for the last 6 games. We normally look at the last 4, but I've increased it to the last 6 for this. So this is the team data defence. So we talk about the season, first of all, just to cover. Brighton are up to 4th which I thought was the kind of the big thing here. I just think that's absolutely incredible from our boys. This is filtered by minutes per XG conceded non-penalty, by the way. So City are way out in front, 147.4 minutes per XG. Absolutely ridiculous. Chelsea are next, 108.9, and then it's Liverpool with 93.3, and then Brighton with 91.2. And then it's a big drop-off. It's Palace next in fifth with 84.8. It's pretty amazing from Brighton, isn't it? I mean, we still concede goals. We were more than a match for your boys, though. The other day, we were unlucky not to come away with a point from that.
Yeah, I think to be honest, they've carried those stats in from last season. I know, like at the start of this year, everyone was kind of joking around how XG is saying this, but they keep conceding goals, but they still keep the amount of chances down, Brian. It's a really good defense. I think the main problem maybe at times is because they haven't got like an outlet. Like the attack is still maybe not quite where the defense is.
Don't need to tell me.
I think sometimes that really, because I think game state can change quite quickly. If you go down, obviously you got to change how you play, and if you can't score, that does not help, right? So, yeah, I really like Brighton defense. In some ways, I wish I'd. I think when I made my transfer in 25 or whatever 24, I think I was too concerned about getting the double in 26, and I kind of ignored Brighton having a double in 25. Obviously, they conceded it against Man United, but got the clean sheet. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a mistake. So yeah, I really like Brighton defence. I've rated them all year.
Yeah, no, I know exactly about the outlet as well, because it's funny because we've got such a great system, such good players. Everyone seems to know to play in the system, but then our focal point, our main striker, is just such a wild card. It's unbelievable. Like, he scores an overhead kick, or he scores that goal off his shin, which I still kind of think he meant to do the other week, even just because it's him. If it'd been anyone else, I would have said definitely not. But because it's him, it's almost like he planned it. If we just had like a kind of reliable striker up front, it would be really interesting to know what we could do. So down the bottom then, so the worst team defensively over the season is Leeds now. So their minutes per XG conceded non-pen is 54.4, which is the worst in the league. Second from bottom is Leicester with 56, and then it's like the people you'd expect: Newcastle 57.2, Norwich 57.8. So Leeds have just been, because they weren't bottom of this metric kind of 6-7 weeks ago, they have just dropped and dropped and dropped, and now they're bottom, about to play United, who they got absolutely hammered by at the start of the season. Lots of people selling Fernandes, Ronaldo. Could we regret it?
Possibly, yeah. I think with Ronaldo, this is why I said earlier on, I think it's easier. I think there is a big chance he doesn't play against Leeds, because the next game is Atletico in the Champions League, and that's a huge game. And obviously, I don't think... obviously, we didn't know Cavani was injured before the deadline. I think if Cavani had been fit, Ronaldo probably wouldn't have played two back-to-back. I think he played 90 in both. I don't think that would have happened if Cavani was fit. So Cavani's back training now. We'll have to wait to see what Rangnick says in the press conference, whether he's available to play. But I think... what game was it? 2-3 games ago, I can't remember which game it was. Maybe it was the one before Southampton, Burnley, I think it was. And Rangnick said, like, there's lots of chasing of the ball to be done and lots of running. That's why Ronaldo didn't play. I mean, if that's against Burnley, what's the deal against Leeds, right? So yeah. I think Ronaldo, if you've got both, I think you have to. I find it difficult to believe that people can go into next week with a good team and keep both. I think Ronaldo has to go. I think Fernandes is just more likely to get minutes. So if you're going to keep one, Fernandes is the one. I'm probably going to sell both, I think.
Wow.
I think. Nothing's locked in.
Okay. We'll talk a bit more about that in a sec, because we've got some attacking stats as well. Okay, last six, though. So there's some really interesting stuff here. So over the last six, Leicester are the worst team defensively. They're conceding an XG non-pen every 42 minutes. But they have had the eight. Well, my ranking on the ticker is 18th out of 20 teams. So they've had hard fixtures. What is really interesting, though, is in 18th and 19th is Norwich and Leeds. Liverpool's next two opponents, and they're both in the top 10 for the easiness of the fixtures they've had. I mean, in case there's anyone here wondering whether to use the triple captainship on Salah or not, or whether to load up on Mane if you want a free hit, or to really go for it. I mean, we don't need to say too much about it, but they are literally playing. These teams are both in the bottom three defences in the league for the amount of chances they concede.
Here's a quick question for you. Let's say, because Liverpool are playing at 3 o'clock on Saturday against Norwich, let's say we get early team news. Salah is not in the starting lineup for Norwich. He's on the bench, so he's fit. and Trent's playing, but obviously you don't know if Trent's going to start the Leeds game, would you switch captaincy if you knew that Salah wasn't going to start against Norwich?
That's a good question.
But he's fit, so he's not injured. You can't cop out with that. Injury.
I'd keep it on Salah because then you know he's going to start Leeds. You know he's going to start Leeds. I think, honestly, if Liverpool didn't even have a double game week this week and they just had Leeds at home and you knew Salah was going to start that game, I think I'd still captain him. Probably not triple captain him, but I'd definitely still captain him.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely for what it's worth. I mean, this is a guy that's missed one game all season. That was after playing 120 minutes worth of AFCON. So I don't think it's an issue. I just thought I'd put it out there.
He plays. All these stats, everyone's just obsessed with my haircut in the chat.
Yeah, I know.
There's so many super chats. I mean, pretty much paid for the haircut. So yeah, thanks everyone. Although it's not all positive, but you know. It's, although when he did it, it was this barber, and he didn't speak any English, and he got the hair trimmer out, and he didn't put any attachment on it, and he just went down the side.
Oops.
So this is a 0 here, and I was like,
I haven't got enough hair to shave, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe people could donate for me to get a hair transplant. Maybe
you get enough bloody super chat. You don't need any more. So other defensive data from the last 6. I thought this was quite interesting. Watford. Look at Watford creeping up. They're up to 11th, so they're now ahead of Spurs. Spurs were 3rd in the ticker. They've dropped to 12th. Watford was 7th, but they've gone above them. I think it's just the Hodgson effect, right?
Yeah, I think we always try and be a bit careful about like if the numbers suddenly change, whether it's just whether they've been a bit lucky or not, whatnot. But I do think it looks like he is trying to rein them back in a bit, at least have some kind of shape and make it a bit harder to score against. But it definitely, at least so far, it feels like that is definitely affecting their attack a bit. Because I think under Ranieri at times, maybe not recently, right, which is probably why he got fired, but they were happy to go and attack. And I'm not so sure that's the case now. So I think, although I said earlier about King or Dennis, we probably got to keep him. If I had a way to get rid soon, like after this week, I would definitely do it. But yeah, I think it's why I'm going to come on to our team later. But Foster's such an annoying one if you own him, because realistically, I'd love to just get Ramsdale, but I just think could Foster get one clean sheet across these 2 games and make it worth keeping. So yeah, I've noticed that Watford defence.
I mean, the stats are at least encouraging for Foster owners. At least the defensive numbers are getting better for them. Another team I've highlighted here are Villa. So Villa up to 7th. Over the last 6. Again, we talk a lot about Gerrard and the attacking options he's got at his disposal. Coutinho, Buendia, Watkins, all these guys, but he has really improved them defensively. It's been one of the main improvements that I've seen with Villa. But my God, they were poor against Newcastle. Did you watch it?
No, I only saw highlights. I didn't watch the full game, but yeah, I mean, maybe Newcastle are just all right now. Maybe Newcastle just.
Well,
all right.
I think Newcastle are obviously getting better, good signings, playing better football, but Villa was so poor, just couldn't create anything, and they got that. I think they were very unlucky with the goal that was offside. Kraft, that Newcastle player, I get the feeling he's not going to be part of Newcastle's aspirations for top 4 going forward. I think. I was just looking at the better than that.
I was just looking at the XG for that game, right? It was 0.4 each side. Like, that is really bad. Like, less than 1 created by both teams together. That's pretty poor. They didn't do much better against Everton either, looking at this, but absolutely smashed Man United. So, yeah, weird one.
Yep, very strange. Let's take a look at some attack data. So over the season, no surprise, Liverpool and City are the top 2. Liverpool in first. Again, another reason why this double game looks so good for them. 23.2 minutes per big chance is just nuts. I mean, City are 28.5, for example, and then it drops down to 38.8 for Spurs in third. It's just like they create so many chances every match. And I watched the Inter game last night, and they struggled for long periods of that, but kind of got the job done. In the end, but they're not going to be playing Inter in this double game. They're going to be playing some very poor sides. So, yeah, it's the sky's the limit for what they could do. You got City in second, Spurs in third, and United in fourth. Chelsea in fifth. Norwich right down the bottom, 118.2. Playing Liverpool, clean sheets, pretty much a cert, right? That's the thing with Trent, is that you're pretty much guaranteed 6 points in that Norwich game. I can't see any way in which they score.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing about Liverpool now is they have got a bit of. I think I might have already said this actually earlier, but they've got a bit of depth now as well. But like good depth, like it's not like they're replacing a really good player for a bad one. So I think even if they did make some changes against Norwich, I think it would be so difficult not to get a clean sheet there.
Yeah, absolutely. Last 6 though, and I sent you this message last night. I thought you'd be really surprised. And you weren't, but that's maybe it's the reason why you turned up United top today. Last 6, team data attack, minutes per XG, non-penalty. First is United. Woo.
Yeah, sorry, I
Good,
thought you were
right?
going to carry on. Yeah,
Well,
it's good.
The only caveat is they are first on the ticker. They've had the best fixtures over the last 6.
Yes. But the next 2 fixtures are also really
Exactly.
good.
But the
After
Leeds
that,
fixture
they're
is very
bad. So I think I was saying this before Gameweek 25. It's why I was kind of pro captaining one and getting on one, because obviously they had 2 games and they have been creating chances recently. They've just not been putting it away. Like the Middlesbrough game in the FA Cup, how we didn't score like 3 or 4 goals in that, I don't know. At least one more goal to put the tie to bed. Against Burnley as well. I mean, second half against Burnley was awful, but the first half again there should have been more goals, and that's kind of been Man United recently. And I actually tweeted out that under Ranić they are creating more kind of chances more often than they did under Solskjaer this year. Now he has had a pretty easy run, but it's still fairly positive. Obviously, pressure mounts. I said this as well. Pressure mounts if you don't start putting these chances away. But hopefully, the Brighton game. I know there's a bit of luck, obviously, with the red card and getting the last minute goal. But hopefully, they'll just kick on. Like Leeds and Watford, there should be goals in both those for sure.
Yep. Some other notable ones just from the top of this table. Arsenal in second, 13th on the ticker as well. So they've had some quite easy games which have probably boosted it up, but some of them have been, they had City, for example, in that and played really well against City and created some good chances. So again, it bodes well for their double game, particularly that first game against Brentford. Liverpool 4th, even though they're 15th on the ticker, they're just absolutely relentless. Everton down in 12th, second on the ticker, really poor. And we all expected Lampard to kind of get them firing and stuff, but he's got a lot of work to do to get them kind of pushing up. Calvert-Lewin, for example, I mean, people are going to hold him, but it's hard to justify holding him, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw. I mean, against Leeds, they did really well. I can't remember the stat, but it was like they had the most shots in it. It's something like most shots in a game for like weeks and months and maybe even years, right, since they've last done that. But then again, it was Leeds, so how much stock to put in that, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I saw people with Calvert-Lewin, like it took like 4 or 5 weeks to pay back the hit. Like that's how many. I know. Like, be missing games, getting 1 point is ridiculous. So yeah, I think I don't want to take too much from a Leeds game, to be honest. I think until they've got double game weeks, I'm not looking at. I'd love Calvert-Lewin to become an option again, but as bad as strikers are right now, I'm still not even looking at him, to be honest. Just not the way it's going at the moment.
No, I think it's at the point where you've got to sell him. Really, he's that kind of player who's just going to stink up your team because you always think he's going to hit something and just won't. So I think you probably just use this double game week as an excuse to say.
You've got some pretty bad fixtures coming up after this week as well. It's like Southampton this week is okay, then City, Spurs, Wolves. It's not ideal.
Cut your losses and get rid. I think 16th is Chelsea, which I thought was interesting. Okay, ticker rating of 14th, but still just shows how far they've fallen. Lukaku hasn't been delivering. Mount's now got an injury. We don't know who's going to play with Ziyech, Pulisic. The attacking options there are really poor. Reece James coming back, hopefully soon, could boost them a bit.
Yeah, I think Chelsea's really interesting because obviously, again, like a lot of people are half thinking about Game Week 28 where it could be Arsenal-Chelsea double, potentially, not guaranteed. But I'm already thinking, like, which Chelsea players would I even buy? Like, Mount's got an injury. Will he be back? Reece James, it's only a couple of weeks away now. Is he really going to be rushed back in and play 2 games in a row in quick succession if there is a double? Like, I just don't know who I'd buy. Is Ziyech nailed enough? I know he's been starting enough recently. And to be honest, if like a lot of people, you're taking money out of your forward line, how do you even get Lukaku in even if you wanted to? So I think Chelsea are a bit annoying in some ways because they've got some really good fixtures coming up. If Reece James isn't back fit, I mean, there's Rudiger, but it's not that exciting. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult to find players from them, I think.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because it should be exciting. You've got one of a team that's almost certainly going to get into the top 4 with good fixtures. And you want to consider Pulisic has been great for us in the past. Ziyech has got so much talent. Even someone like Hudson-Odoi, Havertz, could come into it. But just none of them really... It's I mean, I am half tempted to look at playing the wildcard in 28, but I'd want to do that to tap into Chelsea because the fixture run's so good. But could I pick?
I think you'd have to go Rudiger. I think I don't know if you could go 3. I mean, Ziyech has started the last 3 in the league, and he scored twice as well. But I don't know. Like, he's one of those players that you get in, but you'd have to check the team sheet every single time it comes out. You just wouldn't be 100% confident. Like, Mason Mount's probably a better option, but then a lot of that's going to come down to injury. So it's only a couple of weeks away, like I said. So it's going to be like even Alonso. Would I even be sure he's going to start every game now? There's too many concerns for me. So I'd want Reece James back. He's the one.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be too soon.
Yep, agreed. Final team on here is Watford. So Watford down in 19th over the last 6. So I can't remember. I don't know if this is true, but I swear I read or heard something that said no team in Europe's top leagues have scored less goals than Watford since January.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I thought I read that somewhere, but I can't find any evidence of it. But essentially, they're really bad.
I mean, Josh King hasn't scored since November. Like, it's really bad.
And I mean, when you're rocking Dennis and King, and you see these stats over the last 6, they're second from bottom, 7th on the ticker as well. So the fixtures haven't even been that bad, but they just can't create any chances. And it looks like they've got a manager now who doesn't even want to attack very much. So yeah, we got to dump them, haven't we, after this double.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I've looked ahead, and I think Josh King stays in my team for probably until wild card, maybe. But he'll be on the bench hopefully most weeks. I just don't think I'm going to get a chance to get rid. But yeah, they ain't good.
And -16, you'll be keeping Josh King.
I know. This week. This is make or break this week. Honestly, I think if it could go horribly wrong or be amazing, and there's no in between.
Oh, what a week to get you on! What a week to get you on Blackbox. Fantastic. Player data. Player data over the season. I think this is, I saw this and I was like, whoa, because at the top of the list is Diogo Jota for minutes per XGI non-penalty. He has now overtaken Salah to basically be, stats-wise, the most likely player to get you a return of some description. Salah's in second, 140.8. Diogo Jota's got 112. Third is Gundogan, 127.9. Then it's Mane, 132.8. So, like I said, I think if you're on a free hit, Mane, I would definitely be going for him. I've seen a few people getting Mane in. With Jota out, or potentially most likely out, I'd say at least definitely of the first game. Mane Salah double up. Thoughts?
I don't like it, to be honest.
I like it.
The thing is, I think there's a pretty good chance that Salah starts both games, but how much money I would put on that, I don't know. I'd even have slight doubts. If I've got doubts against Salah, the guy that's only missed one game because of African Cup of Nations, how sure am I going to be about any other attacker getting minutes? I just think Mane's a lot of money. He's not playing in Gameweek 27. I don't know if he's looked that good since he's come back from African Cup of Nations. His minutes have been managed as well. So from Gameweek 28, I just don't know if he's someone you want to carry necessarily. So I think it could be huge, right? If he starts both games, it probably is the biggest differential this week, I guess, because of the fixtures. But I just don't think I'm that convinced about him starting both games. The thing is, sometimes you get players and they get embedded slowly into teams, right? You see, like, City will make a big signing. And sometimes it's not even until the next season that you see him playing regularly. But Luis Diaz has just looked good, like as if he's played there for like a season or two. And I think there's a really high chance that he'll start one game, and he pretty much always plays on the left. So I don't like Mane at all. To be honest.
Okay.
If he plays both, fair play. If you've got the money to do it, but I don't think it's a good transfer for most teams.
What about free hit?
If you're free hit, I might take the risk, but again, I just think it's got to be Salah +2. So it's got to be Salah and Trent +1. So I'd probably go for a defender, I think, over Mane. I haven't really put too many free hits together, so I don't know how easily Mane fits in. I don't know. I mean, if you want to, do you know what I mean? It's the kind of move Mark would make, right? Everyone else is going to have Salah, Trent, so why not have someone that no one's got? But I just think Diaz starts one game. I just think he does.
Well, if Mark's doing it this season, then it's probably a no-go from me as well, to be honest.
No, I think there's every chance Mane starts. Because he came off, I'm trying to remember. I think he came off early in the Champions League.
He did.
Yeah. So I think he starts this game. maybe I don't know if Klopp's going to put Diaz in against Leeds. That's the only thing. 'Cause he didn't want to put him in against Burnley because it's Burnley. I don't know. I do think he starts one game. I'd maybe side towards Robertson or Van Dijk on free hit.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about Liverpool defence in a sec, because I think that third with Jota. Let's say Jota is. I think he's out.
I'm selling him.
I think he's out. I think I'm going to sell him as well. I can't see how they've got this final coming up. He's got a swelling. It's going to be a couple of days so they can even scan. They don't
need to risk him.
They don't need to risk him. So why would he play in this double? So I think we should rock the rest of this podcast by assuming that he's kind of out. And then I guess the question is, who's the best third Liverpool asset? Or is it okay just to go with two, even though they've got this amazing double?
That's a good question, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it now or later?
No, we'll talk about it as we go. We've got some other
Okay.
stuff to mention. But yeah, it's a very good question. You know, it's clickbait and it keeps people listening as well. So you know all about this.
Oh yeah.
Raheem Sterling up to 5th, 10 goals now. So third most goals in the league. He's having a shot every 32.3 minutes. He is becoming a bit of a factor again, isn't he? Hat trick in the last game. He's only 10.7 million or something like that. Grealish looks like he's not in favour at the moment, got a few injuries. Sterling's first choice again. Do you think he's someone to consider, even though he hasn't got the double? Maybe not this week, but, going forward.
So, yeah, I think like sometimes this just happens where it just comes at an unfortunate time that you suddenly realise he's probably a good option and you've maybe missed it a little bit. Because I think you're right? Grealish has got an injury. Jesus is out as well. So it is kind of Foden, Sterling, Mahrez frontline quite often. So I like the look of it. I mean, look, I think City beat Spurs, and I think they probably scored 2 or 3, to be honest, because I think City are just that good. But I don't think I'd use a transfer on him this week. But I tell you when he really comes into play possibly is free hit 27, because I think one thing that a lot of people on free hit are going to be able to do that those of us that won't be able to do is have 3 City players, and obviously you get your pick of who they are. So if you wanted to go different, you could get 2 attackers and 1 defender, or you could go 2 defenders and go a bit different with the attacker that you pick. So I don't want to say he's not an option, because he is playing really well. Whenever you get a City player that's nailed in that front 3 or seemingly nailed, they're always going to be a good option. Like Mahrez is just ridiculous value right now. He's on penalties as well. But I do think it could be an option in free hit 27. Like maybe you go Cancelo, Sterling, Mahrez, possibly, because there is a big gap between the Everton game in 27 and then the FA Cup game. And the FA Cup game is like Peterborough or something like that. So, yeah, I don't think for this week, but I do think people on free hit in 27 will look.
Yeah, I'm looking at getting Sterling. I think even I'll almost certainly have him on the free hit, but then even in 28. If I've still got Fernandes, for example, I can move Fernandes
against
to Sterling.
Mighty Man United defence. You're going to bring in Sterling.
Sterling versus Maguire. That's going to be fun. Sterling and Mahrez versus Maguire is going to be very interesting. I think.
Man United win, I reckon.
Yeah, you haven't got Solskjaer anymore. He was good against City. I don't think Ranick's going to get anything. Cristiano Ronaldo's in 8th. People looking to sell him. He's still in the top 10, still holding it in there, but Matt Doherty's in there as well, so take it with a pinch of salt. The only other player I want to mention here is Lacazette, creeping into the top 30. We'll probably talk about him a bit more when we talk about the forwards. He is someone that I'm looking at. His role is very different. I mean, if you look at his minutes per shot, it's actually one of the worst out of all of the players in the top 30 on the screen in front of you. But he's got assist potential. He's got penalties in his locker. Arsenal have got not only a good double game week, but a good fixture run from 28 onwards as well. So I don't think he's someone we could completely disregard. I'm just not expecting massive things from him, probably. But yeah, we'll come on to Lacazette in a bit when we talk about forwards. Play data last 6. So Rashford's at the top. I thought he was absolutely awful against Southampton, put in one good ball, but the rest of it was pretty atrocious. But his minutes per XG on penalty is 107.2. Son's in second, 118.5. Then you got some other guys, Ben Rama, Jensen. Edouard is a very interesting one because he's 5th. His stats have been outrageous. He's been scoring loads of goals, and then he was dropped, a few weeks ago. Came in against Brentford, subbed off again around the 70-minute mark. He looks, all the stats point to him, but
it's too much of a rotation.
Just too much of a risk, right? Yeah, it's a shame. Is there anyone from Palace that you'd look at? I don't think their double's that bad, but
I mean, they played Chelsea, which isn't great, but obviously Watford's the other one. The other nice thing, I mean, I don't think I'm going to do it, but they do have Burnley at home as well in Gameweek 27. So, like, if you were looking at like a midfielder versus, say, a Saka's double is obviously better, but then he misses 27. So, depending on what chip you got, Palace at least have another game. I think the only one you can consider is Zaha, because I think the forwards are rotating. Even Elise didn't start the last game, and he's been brilliant. So I think Zaha's the only one that's nailed. Vieira has said he's keeping penalties. Whether, as someone pointed out to me earlier, whether or not that's a good thing, who knows? I'd hope he'd be practicing a bit after the last one. But I think if you're going for a Palace tag, it has to be Zaha.
Yeah.
I don't think there is. I think you're bringing in a player in a double game week. You do not want a rotation risk. So Zaha or no one for me.
Yeah, Bernardo Santos in the chat says Vieira roulette. It really is that. The trouble is he just loves Jordan Ayew. Just absolutely loves him. So you're not going to buy him, and then he takes up one of these positions which is being rotated by some of the other players, like Elise, for example. Elise he's 26th in this list, but every time I watch him, he looks fantastic. But
yeah, I like him.
He can't get in the side. Salah's in 6th. So Salah's been off form over the last 6. So these last 6 matches, don't forget, not 6 game weeks. So the last 6 matches he's played, only 2 goals, no assists. But he is having a shot every 23.2 minutes, which is only bettered by Kane in the league, which is encouraging. But just below him, Jared Bowen in 7th. 5 goals.
Season.
5 goals, which can only be matched by Raheem Sterling. Like you said, mad season, right? It's just on one every week.
Yeah, he's so good. I mean, I don't know if I never like calling players season keepers, because at some point, there's always room to sell anyone, even Cancelo possibly at some point. But he's definitely not top of my list to find a way to get rid of him right now, especially like Newcastle at high. I don't mind selling single game week players with good fixtures if you can get a double game week player with a better one, but it's hard to find someone that's better than Bowen for the same price, to be honest. Yeah, it's just mad. He should get in the England squad now. Yep,
agreed. 11th, Lacazette. So he's the top-rated Arsenal player, which I was surprised at. I thought Saka would be on here. Saka isn't even in the top 30 for minutes per XGI non-pen. Neither's Odegaard, neither Smith Rowe. Martinelli is 12th, so just behind Lacazette. But it's interesting that Lacazette's there, given that he's not having a shot that often, 34.1 minutes, which is kind of bang average, really. But his role now is to bring others in, isn't it? And he's almost certainly going to play both games. Let's talk about him now. What do you reckon about Lacazette?
I like him. I think he's not a bad option. The thing is, like, the forward line, like, we've got to fill up 3 spots, and most of us are finding it pretty difficult to find 3 players we actually want. And I think if you're free hitting in game week 27, then I think he probably is the striker to bring in this week, because he's better this week than Weghorst. If you're free hitting 27, you can get Weghorst in anyway. And then he's got Watford away, possibly a double game week, and then a couple of nice fixtures. He definitely plays in game week 30 as well. He's nailed. He usually plays close to 90 minutes most games. He's got penalties, like you said. Like, his stats for the season are not like fantastic. Like, I'm looking at it here, like 0.32 non-penalty XG per 90 minutes. It's not super high or anything like that, but I think when you're looking at a striker pool where I can't really pick any, like, is Jimenez better than Lacazette for this week? I don't think he is. Like, the fixtures are much better for Arsenal, so I think he's a nice punt. The only thing is his price is a little bit annoying. Like, I don't know who you're eyeing up for forwards, but most of the ones I'm looking up all cost like less than 7. So when you've got to spend like nearly 8.5 on a forward, maybe is a bit awkward, so you have to be able to fit him in around others. But I think if you're free hitting 27, then he's probably the one to go for. It's maybe a different conversation if you're not free hitting 27.
I'm 0.1 off Ronaldo and Jota to Lacazette and Salah.
You have to take another hit.
I know. How annoying is that? That'd be for free as well. I might just have to take the hits to do that. It is a shame. I like Lacazette, to be fair. I was very annoyed with Martinelli. My boy Martinelli getting a red before a double game.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, it's very naughty. Jota's 18th on this list, so he's gone up to first on the rankings, but he has been struggling. I mean, before the Leicester game, he was right down about 40th or 50th. His underlying stats weren't that good. He just did so well in the Leicester game. It's going to boost him massively up. So yeah, that's it over the last 6. I think Lacazette climbing the table so much, I thought was the most interesting thing there. Let's go through by position. So this is goalkeepers. People looking to bring in, goalkeeper. All the stats here are over the last 6. As I mentioned, all the stats here are from Fantasy Scout members area as well. So if you're interested in all this kind of stuff, make sure you check them out. So it's filtered by clean sheets. Edison and Ramsdale at the top, 4 clean sheets over the last 6, both of them. Arsenal have been so good defensively. Minutes per save, Ramsdale, of all the keepers on this list, Ramsdale is making basically the fewest saves per 90 of all goalkeepers. He just doesn't have anything to do because they're just so tight at the back, which is remarkable.
I hate Ramsdale.
But he's still getting those bonus. He's still getting his bonus points. He's actually the lowest as well for minutes per baseline bonus out of the players. But the defenders around him don't seem to be doing well either. So that's why he keeps somehow getting these bonus points, even with this, kind of high threshold. I mean, the kind of stats here don't indicate that really, like, keeper-wise, he's the best one to get. But I guess because Arsenal was so tight defensively, he's boostable. The thing is, you'd expect a team with these stats and a team keeping clean sheets, you wouldn't expect him to be getting bonus as well. And he's just always up there, isn't he?
Maybe I need to remind myself of. Have they scored like a huge amount of goals recently? They probably haven't.
No.
I guess that might, like, Wolves only beat 1-0, for example. It was 0-0 against Burnley. They lost to City. I mean, Norwich obviously they scored a lot in, and Leeds, to be fair. But I don't know if that's maybe playing a little bit of a part. No, to be fair, looking at it, they scored quite a few goals. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's happening, but it just does, and that's why, like, as a non-owner, I'm so afraid of him this week because his ownership's going to be high. I mean, there's a good chance of 2 clean sheets, and as you've pointed out, bonus points, even though I know you're saying like his minutes per bonus last 6 aren't great, but over this season when he's got clean sheets, like, his bonus has been fairly decent. So I think, again, like, he probably, like Lacazette, he probably is the keeper to bring in. I'd rather have him if you've got a good backup keeper, or again, if you're free hitting 27. I think I'd rather have him than Pope back to back, to be honest.
So
cover 27.
I mean, Pope features. I mean, 3 clean sheets over the last 6 is good for Pope. Minutes per save 23.5 is one of the best in the league. 5.6 minutes per baseline bonus. Like, it's all pretty decent. I mean, the other goalkeeper I think a lot of people are looking at is Sarr. Obviously, again, Wolves have a great fixture on from 28. Sarr's minutes per baseline bonus of 5.3 is only bettered by one goalkeeper, which is Fraser Forster somehow. Of 5.2, making a save every 25.7 minutes, which again is one of the best in the league too. So I mean, for me, I guess it's between those 3, isn't it? It's Ramsdale, Pope, and Sarr. Pope has got the best XG prevented of all goalkeepers over the last 6, at 3.8, which is a big upturn because he was really, really bad at the start of the season. He was like, they were conceding way too many goals, and it was largely down to him not saving kind of quite simple shots. He's massively turned that around now. So I guess he could factor in. Which would you, if you were going to pick one of these 3, you'd pick Ramsdale, would you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like not trying to sit on the fence. Like, it is difficult to say just one because it does heavily depend on what chips you're using. It's like if you are free hitting 27, I think Ramsdale makes a lot of sense. If you're trying to avoid that, or maybe if you don't have a free hit or you don't want to use it in 27 or 30, then Jose Sarr obviously plays all the way through. Like, he doesn't blank in 27 or 30, so he might not be that bad. I don't think. The thing is, Pope could genuinely be a captaincy option in Gameweek 27. But then when I say it out loud, I think I just don't rate Burnley defence that high. So I'm not really sure about that. So I don't particularly... The problem with Burnley is, straight after the double-double, they got a pretty poor fixture. Right? I think it's Chelsea at home next. It's not an awful run after that, but it's not great either. I don't really like Pope, I don't think. Because I think, obviously, the difference between bringing in the outfield or whatever, you have got like a backup goalkeeper who can play in 27 if you bring Ramsdale in. So I think a lot of people, for example, are on like De Gea and Sanchez. And I think in that scenario, you just swap De Gea to Ramsdale. You have the cover from Sanchez in 27, and then you just play Ramsdale the rest of the week. So I think Ramsdale is probably the one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the stats do suggest that Sarr is kind of the better pick over Ramsdale potentially, but I think I'd still pick Ramsdale. Every year we get a goalkeeper who, if you don't own, you just get so annoyed because they just keep getting clean sheets every week, and that is just Ramsdale. I used to own him. Yeah,
I used to own him.
Yeah,
I guess it's not necessarily. It is one or the other, but a lot of people might be looking for 2 defenders, right? One Wolves, one Arsenal. So then it's Sarr versus an Arsenal defender, or Ramsdale versus a Wolves defender, and then it gets a little bit trickier. So it's like, if I don't know, if you're looking at like Ramsdale and Sice versus Sarr or Tierney, then it gets a bit more trickier. I think I actually prefer Sice, maybe for less injury prone or whatever, but I don't know, it's close. It really is.
Stole my plug of Sace. It's meant to be me talking about him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
you poo-pooed him off stream. Don't suddenly start picking him up.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's going to concede twice in the double.
The only other player I want to mention here is Martinez. He has got the worst XG prevented of all goalkeepers, which I was really surprised at. Just shows how far he's fallen, really, this season. He was the Ramsdale of last year, and now no one's even really considering him, and he's letting in too many goals. Anyway, I mean, minus 3.6 is a pretty hefty, minus XG prevented for him. You'd expect someone of his quality to be doing better.
And I think with Villa as well, like, it's just now they've got Luca Dean. I think that's really where you're going to be looking at. I just like, as soon as Martinez obviously had that price hike, he was just out of the conversation, wasn't he? So yeah, not great this year.
Nope, not at all. Defenders, just looking at these now, going position by position. We can ignore Matt Doherty at the top of the who's going there. Reguilon is second though, and I think there is a big question mark around him. I would say not so much for non-owners, because my advice would be don't buy any Spurs defenders, given their stats aren't very good. The double game week, I mean, the Burnley game is fine, but they're playing City, and the fact that we don't even know which one's going to start. But for Reguilon owners, Royale's in third as well, so both the wing backs are featuring highly on this thing. But are you confident for a start? No, not at all. The thing is, right, if you look over the season for Spurs, their numbers are actually pretty good for defence. I don't know what the hell happened suddenly, like against Southampton and Wolves, where they just went to pot completely. I'm not saying they've been brilliant all season, like in terms of results, but Southampton and Wolves, the Wolves game in particular, like, I think whenever you have a defender playing against Wolves, you're always confident. And they scored 2 goals so quickly, like it was super frustrating. I think, like, I don't know, from watching the games, I think that Reguilon, for a Conte wing back, has played pretty well. I know some people are questioning whether he can actually finish, but Emerson Rowe, I feel like, always making mistakes. Like, I don't really, so from what I've seen anyway recently, I don't really rate him that highly at all. So I think he is an issue if you've got him. But the problem with Reguilon is you're just not sure his starts. I don't think I ever was, to be honest. I think when I bought him in, I said he's not completely nailed. But now I've read today that he wasn't pictured in training, so he could just be a big issue that we have to get rid of. It's so annoying because he's so attacking. He really is. I'm still bitter that I didn't get an attacking return against Southampton, to be honest. But yeah, I just think, right, like, non-owners shouldn't be looking at all, I don't think, at Spurs' defence right now. And Reguilon owners got a big decision to make. I'm definitely siding with selling him at the moment. Yeah. So a couple of injuries I've highlighted here. Robertson is in 5th, again for minutes per expected goal involvement. Lamptey in 8th and Gabriel in 9th. So Gabriel and Robertson, obviously with the double game week. Robertson is the 3rd defender. I mean, my worry is that Simicast plays one of those games. I think that's almost certain. I would say that Simicast plays one of those 2 games because he's good. He's good, and it's a good time to rest Robertson.
No, I completely agree. I think, like, anyone that wildcarded recently got rid of Jota and jumped on Robertson, and fair enough, they might be up on the deal even with Robertson's even with Jota's double against Leicester. But I'd find it really hard to bring in a 3rd Liverpool player. Like, I am going to sell Jota this week, almost certainly, and I'll bring in Salah, and I'll have Salah and Trent just like every other FPL manager in the world. And I could bring in a 3rd one, but I just don't know if I want to, because, like I said, they blank next week. The fixture run afterwards is not great, although it is Liverpool, so I don't know if we need to worry about that too much. But I think I'd probably go for Van Dijk, and I'm not even sure if he will play both of them. And if I'm that worried, I just don't know if they're worth it. But it's difficult because they are like the 2nd best team in the league, and they've got a really good fixtures where they could get 2 clean sheets. It's really tricky, but I think Simicast would just put me off enough because he's not as good as Robertson. Like, not many left backs are, but he is really good. Like, he is a good backup. So I think against Norwich, like, because they've played Champions League, I think it makes a lot of sense to rest the players against Norwich. Like, that is an easier game than Leeds. I think whatever we think of Leeds and how bad we think they're going to get battered, they do create problems, or can create problems to defences. So I think there's more chance that the better play, not the better players, but the more first 11 will play against Leeds. So yeah, I think there's every chance I go into Game Week 26 with 2 Liverpool players when they've got Norwich and Leeds at home, which is madness.
Well, I assume Jurgen Klopp listens to Blackbox, and I assume he's looked at the team and attack stats I presented earlier, and he'll look at Norwich and say, okay, well they can't defend and they can't attack, so this is probably the time to play some of the reserve players against them. For what it's worth, if I was picking one, I'd go Van Dijk. I would definitely go for Van Dijk over Robertson. I wouldn't bring in Robertson this week. And this is where my question to you is about, is 2 Liverpool players enough? Because you've kind of poo-pooed Mane a little bit. You're probably not going to go towards Diaz because we're not sure how much he's going to play. Firmino, we're not going to go there realistically. Robertson, I don't agree with. So then it's who? Who is that third Liverpool asset? It's either Van Dijk or no one. For me,
the only thing that worries me about it's not really a worry, right? Because I don't think he's going to miss many games. And I think out of all the defenders, maybe even ahead of Trent, he's probably the most likely to play both. But I know from Game Week 28, if I got to choose my 3 Liverpool players again, I wouldn't choose Van Dijk. I would choose Robertson. So it's like, how much do you let this week dictate future weeks?
That's a good point.
Because from Game Week 28, I would want Robertson. So I don't know. I think I would probably buy Van Dijk, but I don't think I'd be very happy about it after this week. The only thing is, excuse me, is for most of us, the wild card's going to come fairly soon after Game Week 30. So if we think Game Week 26 double, they blank in 27 anyway. You've only got like 28, 29. They're going to blank in 30, almost certainly, and maybe 31. So you've only actually got 3 weeks after this where your Liverpool players are going to play. So if Robertson heavily outscored Van Dijk in those 3 games, you'd probably feel a little bit hard done by. So I don't think Van Dijk's a bad choice. But yeah, from 28 onwards, Robertson would easily be the one I'd want, I think.
Yep. In 9th, we've got Gabriel. So a lot of people are kind of debating Tierney versus Gabriel. Tierney isn't in the top 30 for in terms of attacking potential, which is surprising because I always associate him with being this ridiculously attacking defender. But his stats don't paint the picture that he's creating, very many amazing chances or getting into goal scoring positions himself. Gabriel obviously got the goal, so that's probably pushed him up quite high. Would you agree he's the one to get, though? I think I'd lean towards Gabriel over Tierney.
I would definitely lean towards Tierney over Gabriel.
Interesting.
I think. Usually, right? Usually. But the one thing with Tierney is I just know as soon as I bring him in, he's going to get injured.
Absolutely.
That worries me. And that is why I would strongly consider Gabriel, because I think goal threat wise he's pretty decent. Tierney's just more exciting. I know goals are worth more, and so this is a bit illogical, but I just think when you're watching a game, and you're more likely to watch games when there's doubles, right? I think you just rather see your fullback bombing up than waiting for the corner or the free kick for your centre back to go up. So I do prefer Tierney, but I think for safety, especially when I've been burnt recently with transfers like Reguilon not being nailed or whatever, and maybe got an injury now, that's the only thing that puts me off Tierney. If you told me right now, for the amount of time I'm going to hold that Arsenal defender, Tierney's going to be fit, he's the one I would get. But
I just can't tell you that, Andy. I don't believe in myself.
No, if you could, you could.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just I would expect Tierney to be better in Gabriel on this list, though. I would expect Tierney to be in the top 30 defenders for expected goal involvement, non-penalty. Especially because he's been really consistent. His returns have been really steady and good over Arsenal's good run. So I just think it's something to think about. I think I would lean to Gabriel.
It's not a bad shout, Gabriel. No, I do like him.
No, and I think another player who's not on this list, who you mentioned earlier, is Saiz. And FPL Snallows was in the chat a minute ago. I think it must be 2:00 in the morning or 3:00 in the morning in where Snallow is. So fair play that he tuned in. But if anyone hasn't listened to the Burning Questions video on Scout, it's really, really good what Snallow and FPL Teacher have talked about in terms of their defence. Firstly, the case for Saiz is that Leicester are the worst team in the league for defending set pieces. And Saiz is very, very good from set pieces. So that's one reason to consider bringing him in. He doesn't feature on this list, but he's someone to think about. But also, Snallow's research shows that... I'm not even going to go into it. Just watch the Burning Questions video if you're interested, and look at the Wolves segment, because Snallow his analysis of it is really, really interesting. But basically, the too long didn't read, or too long don't read, is Saiz is a good option this week for double gaming, I think. And I think he could end up being one of the top scoring defenders, personally. There you go. That's my shout.
I like him.
You like him? Okay.
The only thing is, again, I'm forgetting what I've said on my own videos or what I said earlier on the podcast, or whether I talked to you about it before we started.
Just do too much, Andy. Do too much.
Yeah, like I like Wolves defenders have got a lot to like about them because the fixture run from 28 onwards is really good. They play in 27 and 30, so for those people trying to hold free hits or don't have free hits, they're decent. They're good defense anyway. I think only Man City have conceded less goals, than them this season. But I just look at the next three, the double and Gameweek 27, Leicester, Arsenal, West Ham. I just think maybe we're going to be relying on goal threat, which isn't bad. Sice is really good from set pieces. But I just think, like, as bad as Leicester are defensively, as you pointed out earlier, like I don't see, when I've got an attacker playing Leicester, I do not see that as a bad fixture anymore. I see it as a pretty good one. They can still score goals. We're all buying Arsenal attackers. They've got to play Arsenal away. And then it's West Ham away with Jared Bowen and, maybe Antonio if he can figure out how to score goals again. So I just don't know about the next three. So I think it depends when you're going to buy them and what chips you got. If you need someone all the way through, then I think they're good. But if you don't, I don't know if this is the week to buy them, especially if you could get like an Arsenal defender instead, maybe.
Yeah, it could be right. I just really like Wolves going forward. And I think, if we're talking, I think you mentioned it earlier, I think having that kind of either that Ramsdale, Saïs pivot or the Sarr, Tierney, Gabriel pivot. There's other options as well. I mean, you could go for Ben White, Aït-Nouri. There's plenty of options from those two sides that you could get in. And I do think this is a great week to do it because they've got the double. I mean, Wolves have got the game next week and then a decent fixture run. Arsenal have got a decent fixture run, but they've got the blank. It just kind of depends how your team's set up. But I think getting in, a goalkeeper and a defender from those two sides is a very viable tactic. Last player on this list is Dean, by the way. I just marked him. He's creeping into the top 30 now. I mean, he was so poor. His stats were so bad when he was at Everton, but he's climbing up the list a bit more each week.
I feel like this is just like at Everton. I feel like for Luca Dean's whole career, we've been waiting for that double-digit haul for weeks and weeks and weeks. And
hey, I got it. I got it my first week of him at Villa. It was great.
Got true. Points. That was good. Yeah, no, to be fair. It just always feels like we're just waiting for that massive haul, as if he's like Trent Alexander-Arnold.
No. 5-1. 5-1's decent. I mean, if I was picking one now, he'd be behind Tierney, Gabriel, Saïs, I think, just because he hasn't got the double. But I think, for a while, I mean, he's got Watford at home. It's a damn good single game week for him. So wouldn't be too surprised if he did outscore quite a lot of popular defenders. Midfield then. So I mentioned Rashford in top. Son's being bought in by quite a lot of people. He's second. XG on pen every 118.5 minutes. Thoughts on Son versus Kane?
Lots happened over the last week or so. I was looking at getting Kane because it was just easier to do, but now I feel like basically for me it's just money saved for Son. I don't think Kane's a bad option at all, and I know he hasn't performed as we would hope he would, but I think goals are coming for him. Like, he has underperformed his XG quite a bit this year, but for me, like, the price difference is like 1.5 or 1.6 million, and that feels big right now when I'm looking at my transfers. So because I'm having to change multiple things anyway, I'm just probably going to get Son, to be honest. I don't really see, like, Game Week 26, not going to captain them. Game Week 27, maybe, but I'd probably go for a double game weeker, to be honest. I'd probably captain Weghorst over Son. I just know I will. Game Week 28, Salah's back. So not really going to captain them anyway. So even if you thought Kane was a better option, I don't know if there's that much in it. So I'm just going to save the money, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. We've talked about Mane. We haven't talked about Foden. We talked about City in general. I don't think anyone's going to be buying them too much. Sancho's in 13th. Obviously had a good double, really. I think people will be happy with anyone that's got him, which can't be many people. But you're the United fan. Could he be a factor going forwards? I want him to be.
So do I. I think he is playing better, but again, I think it's a bit like when we talked about Sterling earlier. It's like situational. We've missed the double's gone now. Yes, they've got two good fixtures, but we're not looking at bringing in players, only taking them out, and then the fixture run's really bad. So maybe later on in the season, but I think realistically it's probably going to be next season at this point. I think he is improving, and I think his link up from the left is pretty good. There's maybe a couple of chances in recent games where he could have possibly cut it back instead of shooting. So maybe he needs to work on that a bit. But it's just the wrong time for him, to be honest.
I mean, the interesting United asset here is Bruno Fernandes, who's down in 16th. So you kind of look through these stats. You look at minutes per shot, 38.5 minutes. that's not that great. I mean, someone like Mane's having them every 28.1, even Ben Rama's at 23. It's kind of it's average. You look at minutes per big chance, 134.8. That's pretty rubbish as well. You look at Rashford, 119.5. You look at Son, 87.7. There's definitely players, but minutes per chance created, best in the league, 23.4 minutes. So that's what he's improved on a lot more. Is he's being used in more advanced areas, and that's when people are saying, we're seeing that kind of a bit of a glimpse of the old Fernandes. His role's changed, all this kind of stuff. Have you seen enough of Fernandes to make you think, A, we should be thinking about keeping him for this Leeds game, B, that he could be a factor between now and the end of the season?
I don't think he's going to be that much of a factor, because I don't think Man United got any other games to rearrange. They're out of the FA Cup, although their game, I guess, will be a blank because of Liverpool. But whatever. Anyway, I just think 11.7 million for a player with such low goal threat is just pretty poor. Like, I know people are looking forward to Leeds because he obviously got the hat trick in the first game, and to be fair, in the first game he did run beyond the striker quite a lot, and I'm sure he's going to be asked to do that again against Leeds. The thing for me is, right, I find really interesting, like, if you ever needed to know that goals impact people's decisions, it's Bruno Fernandes, right? They play against Southampton. Everyone cannot wait to get rid of their Man United players because they're awful. When did Ronaldo score? Like the 42nd minute or something? Up until that point, everyone wants to get rid of their Man United players. And then he scores in the 97th minute, and now it's suddenly, they got Leeds next, I might keep him. Like, they always had Leeds next. That's not new information. The only thing is he scored in the 97th minute against Brighton. Now, to be fair, he probably could, like I said earlier, could have had a few more returns. And obviously, Jota getting injured means people are more likely to keep him. I don't think you have to sell him this week. Like, Leeds away and Watford at home are two good fixtures, and he's much more likely to play both of them than Ronaldo is. That's for sure. But I think I'm gonna sell him. That was always the plan anyway. What's changed? He scored a goal. I already knew he was pretty good. Like, nothing's really changed in that regard. So I'm probably going to sell him to Son, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I'm doing it anyway.
Interesting. That is very interesting. Yeah, because I mean, looking at the stats, I mean, Son's minute per chance created is 40.5, which is actually one of the best in the league as well. But his minutes per shot as 30.9 is obviously better. But his minutes per big chance is coming close to half of what Fernandes is. So his assist potential isn't bad. His goal threat is good. And to be honest, Spurs are about as inconsistent and rubbish as United are at the moment. So you're not exactly taking a huge downgrade.
I think the Man City game is what puts a lot of people off doing that hit, because it would be for a hit, just like every transfer this week. I don't know. The way I'm looking at it is, take away the Man City game. Like, Son's got Burnley away and then Leeds. I think both games are away. So that's not ideal. If they were both at home, that might be a bit easier. So you've got Burnley away and Leeds away. In the same time, Fernandes has got Leeds away as well and Watford at home. Like, if I was going to give people money to bet on who scores the most points in those games, I feel like most people, before that goal against Brighton, would have said Son. So then you add in that he has got the Man City game as well, which isn't great. I realise it's the worst fixture you can have, but at least it's an extra game as well. I just think there's every chance he outscores Fernandes over the next 2 by 4 points. So that's how I'm looking at it. I fully understand why people want to keep him. Obviously, Leeds is a great game. You don't need to go out of your way to get rid. And if you're not free hitting in 27, maybe it's good to have him against Watford as well. But I'm probably going to sell to Son. I'm pretty set on it, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. There's one other thing I noticed from this list is that when we're all talking about double game weeks and trying to get excited about players to bring in, there's actually very few double game week players in the top 30 of this midfielder list. So, I mean, you've got Son, Salah, Mane. You would have Marcelli, but he's obviously been banned. Dan James is 11th. So Rafinha doesn't feature, but Dan James does. I mean, he could, if you're looking for a sneaky differential for a double game week player, maybe have to think about Dan James. You've got Jota.
Up against Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire, exactly. You've then got Jota, Saka, Odegaard. And that is about it. So, 7 out of the top 30 have got a double game week. It's kind of slim pickings, really, when we're really trying to find someone. Like, we look at these tables and these lists to try and, inform us and get in someone who we think is going to make the difference that maybe other people won't have spotted. But I'm finding it hard to really find someone that stands out.
Yeah, I think it's all Arsenal for me. I think Saka is I think Saka is a decent buy. Obviously, Salah, if you don't own, is pretty obvious. Outside of that, it is fairly tricky for midfielders. I do like Son this week. I think he's fine to bring in. And I guess I know he's not on here, but Rafinha's always got to be looking. I know the double's not great, but again, they play in 27 and 30. The fixture run is okay as well. He's on penalties. I know he got bought off at half-time recently, which wasn't great, but I don't think you can ever really completely count him out. Dan Jet, I just can't do it to myself. I just can't.
I'm going to put it out there. If you trust stats and you've got 6 million to spend and you want to get someone that no one else in the world has got, Dan James.
If you want to ruin your season, get Dan James.
Oh, it says you with Trossard in your team.
Yeah, that's true.
Forwards. So top of the forwards over the last 6 is Edouard. I would love to big him up because, I'm a believer in stats and he does play some minutes. He's not like, he rarely plays. He just gets subbed too early. So I think we've already talked about him. It's just, I just wouldn't go there. Kane is next in seconds. His big upturn in form has coincided with no points whatsoever and Spurs being rubbish, which is also weird because Romero's back for Spurs. So you'd think they'd get better defensively. Kane looks on it again. They're going to be better attacking wise. And they're not. So God knows what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think the last 2 games have been... I mean, again, going back to that Southampton game, and I only know because I was so focused on Reguilon. I don't know how Kane didn't come away with an attack and return either. It was mad. The header where he just put it kind of bounced and then up over the bar. It was his assist to Reguilon as well. I think he was a little bit unlucky. The Wolves game, who the hell knows what happens there. They had a lot of shots in that Wolves game, but I don't think there was too many high quality ones. But I think Kane's okay going forward. But obviously, he's very expensive. You wouldn't want him. I don't know, and then another fairly expensive forward. You'd really want a couple of cheapies. So I think he's okay to bring in. But yeah, recent weeks have been annoying.
They have conversion rate of just 6.5%. Lacazette's next, not much better in terms of conversion, 6.7. What's interesting though is Kane is having a shot every 17 minutes. Lacazette is having one every 34 minutes. So double the amount of time for Lacazette to have a shot basically. But in terms of big chances, Kane's only getting 1 a match. So 90 minutes and Lacazette's at 73. So Kane is just shooting on sight really without them necessarily being in particularly good positions, which is fine. That's what you want. You want your striker to be shooting. But it shows that Spurs are struggling really to create good chances, I think, for their main striker. I personally, I'm not massively sold on Spurs this double game week. I wouldn't be ripping my team apart to getting one of Kane or Son.
Yeah, fair enough.
Ronaldo's in 12th, a conversion of 5.6, accuracy of 27.8. He's quite wayward. I mean, Kane's accuracy is at least quite good, 41.9. So Ronaldo is not hitting the target very much. Watkins as well, 28.6. He's got to improve on that because otherwise Ings is going to come in and take his place.
A lot of people think that might happen this week.
Yeah.
Watkins owners be worried. One quick thing you just reminded me of about Ronaldo. If I'm so sure that, not so sure, but there's a chance that he's going to miss out against Leeds, then obviously that also puts penalties onto Fernandes, which is something to take into account. So yeah, I'm sure. I think I will do Fernandes to Son, but I think I'll wait till the last minute and do it in a panic, to be honest. But yeah, if Ronaldo's out, he's going to get penalties straight back. Yeah,
I'm definitely leaning towards sending Ronaldo over Fernandes. I think it seems logical, right? I don't think I would sell Fernandes personally, but not for Son. I don't think so. But yeah, fair enough. And just the other player here to mention is Antonio. I mean, talk about him every bloody week. Is he ever going to score again? Probably not. His accuracy is decent, 50%. Minutes per big chance, though, 269. That is so bad. That's one of the worst in the league. Minutes per shot, 107.6. I don't even fully understand. Oh, sorry, that's minutes per shots in the box. So basically, he's having less than a shot in the box every match, which again is absolutely terrible. That is the worst of all the strikers on this list. So shots in the box has always been a stat that I've loved. It's always been one of my biggest deciders when I'm looking at transfers, and I've got tables on Scout, which, as one of my 3 kind of killer ones. That is so bad, right? I mean, Edouard's 33 minutes a shot in the box, Kane's 30, Lacazette's 39.3, Ronaldo's 37.8, Antonio 107.6. That just shows he's not shooting in the right areas. He's never going to score again.
Yeah, I've got rid of him now. I hated doing it. I love Antonio. I think you can easily just hold on to him for this week because it's Newcastle, right? Depending on what other transfers you got to make. But I think he's. I reckon he's just knackered. I reckon he's because the thing is, he usually gets injured, and so he has time off. His body gets a bit of a rest. Okay, he's injured, right? He's got to recover from that. But overall, his body's getting a rest. But this season, he's played so many 90 minutes. They've not been able to rest him hardly ever. He's also playing for Jamaica as well. I just think he needs a break. And I just don't see any reason to hold on to him.
But look at the stat next to him. Minutes per shot. Okay, shot in the box is bad enough. Minutes per shot, 89.7.
Just about one a game.
Just about one a game. That is awful. That really is. He's got to go. And you can always keep finding new excuses to keep him, which is what I've been doing. But I think this is the week we need to let go of Mikel. Okay, that is the stats done. Hopefully that's been useful for some people. Basically, all I took from that is I might get Dan James. Surely not. Surely I can't do that to myself. Looking at the predictions then, Mark and I have been plugging these in each week. We've predicted 226 games between us now. I'm ahead of Mark, 115 to 106 on correct outcomes. I'm over my 50% target, which is good. We've both predicted 21 correct scores, which is 9.3%, so around 10%. And clean sheets, I'm winning that just about with 44.4%. Right. I had a good week this week with clean sheets, actually. I predicted 4 and got all 4 right. So, yeah, I was quite happy with that. Let's take a look at the fixtures. Obviously, there's loads of them this week, so I'll try and go through this kind of fairly quickly. West Ham v Newcastle, so one of the better-looking single game weeks on paper. I've gone for a 2-2. Mark's gone for a 2-2. You've gone for a 2-1 West Ham win. If you've got Antonio, do you play him? Because you play Bowen, right? But do you play Antonio?
I mean, yeah, it depends. It depends who the other option is, but I would play him. Yeah, if I didn't. If I don't know, I'm trying to think of who people have got on their bench. Maybe a defender or something.
Well, I've got I've got Jacob Ramsey versus Antonio potentially. Who'd you play at those
two? I'm trying to remind me. Oh, they got Watford, aren't they, at home? I'd still side with Antonio just for long love of him. Yeah, I just
for the lols.
He's not this bad, surely.
Stats is.
Yeah, and Newcastle have obviously improved a bit as well. That's why I think they might score in this one. But I'd probably still back Antonio over Ramsey. I know Ramsey's been good, but I've got to back my boy. Got to back him.
Arsenal, their double game week. Brentford, we've all gone 2-0, all three of us. Against Wolves, you and I both gone for a 1-0, and Mark's gone for a 1-1. So 3 goals scored for Arsenal. You and I both gone for 2 clean sheets as well. So defensive wise, we've even the double up really looks pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I hated doing this because as soon as you start putting the scores in, you're like, oh God, does that mean I now can't buy that player or I've got to sell that player because I don't think they're going to score? But I think Brentford are just in a really bad run of form right now. I think that looks pretty good for a clean sheet and a couple of goals maybe. Wolves obviously a bit of a tougher fixture. But I do think they'll end up getting a goal there. I think its home game is pretty decent. But I think outside Liverpool, obviously they're the best chance of 2 clean sheets. I think they're almost guaranteed 1 at least. So they look good for me.
Yep. Villa Watford, the other really good single game week fixture. I've gone for a 2-0 Villa. Confident on that. You've gone for a draw, 1-1, and Mark's gone for a 2-1. You're both backing Watford to score. I just can't see it. I just can't see it.
I think Gerrard's honeymoon period is coming to an end with Watford.
Did you see him? Did you see him after in about the 85th minute or something? I was watching it with my dad, and he was absolutely fuming with Gerrard's body language because they're chasing the game 1-0 down, and he's just slumped in his chair like this.
I saw Villa fans talking about that. Yeah, they were saying that when they're winning, he's all up for it, but when they were losing, it wasn't good. So yeah. I don't know whether to make too much of that, but I just if Newcastle can score against them, I'm hoping King can come up with it.
Quick shout out to my dad, by the way, because when Brentford were doing well, I don't know if you saw the Blackbox where my dad announced that Brentford were rubbish and he expected them to get relegated that season, and everyone ridiculed him as they would, including myself. And now Brentford are being sucked into a relegation battle. So fair play, Dad.
How close are they? Let's see, 24.
They're not far off,
7 points. I think they'll be fine. They are. It's pretty bad right now, but I think they can come back out of it. I think they'll do fine.
Possibly. I don't think my dog barking. He's gone mad for some reason. Moving down the list, Brighton Burnley. We've all gone for a Brighton win. 1-0 for me, 2-0 for Andy, 2-1 for Mark. Palace v Chelsea. So Palace with this double, which I think doesn't look too bad for Palace on paper. I thought about this one for quite a while. I can see Palace getting something from this, but I've gone for a Chelsea win. It's just if there's a bit of a hangover, right, from this Club World Cup and haven't played in the Premier League for a while and their stats weren't amazing. But we've all gone for a Chelsea win. But I think they're going to have to work for it. You've gone for a 2-0 though, so you think it's going to be fairly comfortable?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what's his name? Gallagher won't be able to play this game. That might hurt him a little bit. I don't know. I think Chelsea are always just good for a clean sheet. I mean, I was very aware that as I was going through, I was putting in a lot of 2-0s, so I had a couple of goals in places. But yeah, I think fairly comfortable-ish for Chelsea, even with the kind of little break. I mean, it might be. Maybe they've got a bit. Maybe they will have a bit of a cup hangover. You might be right there, but I still think they win.
And the other Palace game is against Watford. I've gone for a 1-0 Palace. So I'm backing no goals for Watford, despite owning Josh King in my own side. You've gone for a 1-1. Mark's gone for a 2-1. So you're backing 2 goals for Watford in this.
I just needed some hope for Josh King, to be honest. That was it. That's the only reason. It's
fair enough. You've got to have hope. Liverpool next. You and I both went for a 4-0 against Norwich. Mark's gone for a 3-0. And then against Leeds, I've gone for 3-0. So 2 clean sheets for Liverpool. You've gone for a 3-1, same as Mark, 3-1 as well. I don't think we need to. We've talked about Liverpool quite a lot. They're going to win both of these games very comfortably, I think is the take-home message from this. Leeds, as well as Liverpool game playing Man United, I've gone for a 2-0 United. You've gone for 4-1 Man U, and you're selling both United players. That's interesting. Mark's gone for 2-2. He's gone for a draw, I assume, with Dan James racking up the points. As predicted. Interesting though, 4-1 United.
Sancho hat-trick and 1 goal from McTominay. That's what I'm that's what I'm bad. I just honestly I think we are doing better than the results have shown, and at some point it's going to click. And we're going to start converting, or we're going to have a bad game where we don't create many chances and yet they're all going to go in. Like it's kind of what happened against Leeds the first time. I'm not saying we weren't lucky, right? Definitely not. But there was just a few goals that maybe on another day just don't go in. But yeah, I think at some point it's going to click, and why not against Leeds? And that's exactly why I'm selling Ronaldo and Fernandes. Yeah,
good. That's where you earn your YouTube money from. Great little advice like that. I think you'll win 4-1, but sell all your United assets. Excellent
Pretty
stuff. Southampton Everton. I don't think many people care about this game. Maybe your owners. I've gone for a 1-1. You've gone for a 3-1 Southampton. Mark's gone for a 2-1. Heavy Southampton win then, you think? You don't think Everton are quite there yet? Good win for them.
No, it was a good win like last week, but that was against Leeds. I think I've been really impressed with Southampton recently. I think they played really well against Spurs. They played really well against us. I think Broyer's looking good. 3 goals maybe a bit heavy, but I think they win this. The score at least 2. I've got Broyer. I'm actually probably going to bench him.
Oh yeah.
I'm not massively happy about it, but I just think it's going to have to be the way it's done this week. But yeah, I think Southampton win for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I think they'll probably cancel each other out. I think the Lampard sort of buzz will probably still keep them going for a bit, but Southampton are a good side, so it won't be easy. And then finally we've got the Spurs double game week. So Spurs have got Man City. First of all, you and I just 3-0. I've gone for 3-0. You've gone for 2-0 to City. Mark's gone for 3-1, a hopeful goal for them. And then against Burnley, you and I both back to Spurs winning this 2-1. Mark's gone for a 2-2. We talked about them a bit, but Spurs, I don't know. Doesn't look like the best.
I'm selling Fernandes for a hit. He's scoring 4 goals, and I'm bringing in Son, who I think is scoring 2 goals across 2 games. So, yeah, it's. I don't know. I think the only thing with Son is I feel like the way that Man City and Spurs game is going to go. If anyone's going to score, it's him. I think it's just how I don't know how Conte's going to set up, but in the past, like a few seasons, Man City and Spurs games have all gone the same pretty much. They just wait and wait and wait, try and defend, try and break on the counter. Son's going to be the man to do that. I don't know. I'm just hoping that Conte is just so good, even though he's got to manage Spurs. I'm just hoping he has some kind of a plan. But obviously, the easiest thing to do is just to bank on City winning, because that's what they always do.
It is funny though, isn't it, when you look at these and you think, okay, you've got Spurs to score twice, and you've got United to score 4. You're going to sell Fernandes for a hit for Son.
I'm just hoping I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I want Man United to win, but maybe just a 1-0 would be nice.
Yeah. Easy. I get this a lot. People saying, "Oh, why have you predicted this, but your team is doing this?" And that is often the thing. It's like, well, I'm happy to be wrong. Just because I think it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. I mean, you look at the the predictions conversion. I mean, 50% correct outcome isn't bad, but 50% has been completely off. It's very tough. And obviously when you've got the double game, you've got two chances. Excellent. Okay, so that's the fixtures done. Captain Matrix. I mean, there's no point in I didn't even bother doing the captain data for this week because it's so obviously Salah. I mean, maybe Trent, I guess, as a bit of a punt. Jota was there and thereabouts, but obviously not a factor anymore. I've still got Martinelli, and obviously you don't captain Martinelli now. Kane and Son within those differentials. It's just obviously Salah. Next week's interesting. I'll definitely be free hitting for Gameweek 27. I've got Ronaldo and Fernandes versus Watford and Son and Kane versus Leeds. Marked up for that. Differentials, De Bruyne, Foden, Cancelo all playing Everton. Broja versus Norwich is a real kind of left field punt, but it's probably going to be the United or the Spurs boys, I'd imagine.
Weghorst?
No. Would you go there? I guess another double game week player.
Possibly, yeah. I feel like I always just want to back the double game week. I just don't like going for single game week with players when there's a double. It'd have to be someone really bad, and maybe Burnley is the really bad. I'm just looking at the fixture. So Leicester at home is a pretty good fixture, I think. Crystal Palace away maybe a bit tougher. I definitely prefer their double in 27 over the one in 26. I think the game week 26 was pretty tough. But yeah, if I had to set my team right now, I would captain Weghorst, I think.
Okay, maybe I've been a bit harsh on putting him in. Or Cornet as well, potentially.
Yeah, I definitely... I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was some quotes from Sean Dyche about the two of them, basically saying how... I think it was something like he's impressed with how fit Weghorst is already, and he's come in, he's ready to go. He wanted to play on when he came off the other day, whereas Cornet has just not been kind of at it recently in terms of being ready for matches. So I definitely wouldn't captain Cornet.
Okay, well, I'm going to add Weghorst to this list. No, I can't because I haven't made it black. I have added Weghorst, but it's in white, so you can't see it. Oh, now I've messed up the screens. Okay, let's just pretend that didn't happen. And then in 28, I mean, I could wildcard in that week. It's not completely off the cards for me, but I probably won't, to be honest. But in that week, the captaincy is quite interesting. I mean, if you don't go for Salah against West Ham, which you probably are going to, you've got Kane versus Everton, De Bruyne versus United. Martinelli versus Watford, or Arsenal players versus Watford. Again, it just shows if you are being stubborn and you're not getting Salah, I think 28 is a really tough one because you're going to want him for that match as well.
Yeah, so. I think the only ones I would consider that aren't Salah that week is probably Son and Kane, to be honest. And I just don't like. I think we've got a lot of points to be made up over the next few weeks with chips, blanks, and doubles. And I don't know if banking against Salah in game week 28 is going to be a time when I do it. And also, it might be a double as well. So if Arsenal and Chelsea double, that's probably where we're going to look out for captaincy. I'd say.
Speaking of doubles, this is some research done by Mark. He was originally going to be on this stream, but obviously real world work got in the way. But Mark loves these double game week hauls that he looks at. So basically what he's done on this screen, I'll stall for a bit while YouTube catches up for you, Andy, is he's looked at all the times in which Jota, who unfortunately probably isn't going to be a factor now, but he's a good as a kind of a benchmark comparison, Trent and Salah, basically looked at all the games they've started kind of back to back, and he's worked out what they would have got in a double game week if they'd had those fixtures back to back. So amazing research from Mark, as he always does for these things. So I won't try and take credit from this. But basically the long and short of it is, if you look at all of Salah's back-to-back starts, he averages 17.4 points. So in essence, he's averaging 17 points. So you're going to get 17 points from your captain or triple captain this week. If all goes well. Trent's at 14.7 and Jota is at 12.4. So even if Jota was fit, he would, in theory, still be the worst option of the three to captain, even though his underlying stats are so good. Interesting metric. I mean, obviously, it's a bit different because, double game weeks come thick and faster. You've got other factors like the cup coming up. You've got a week in between a lot of these games. But it's interesting that, Salah does so well. I mean, 17.4. If you got 17 points from your triple captain, you'd be elated with that, wouldn't you?
I've never ever got more than 9 points.
Really?
For my triple captain.
Who was that? Bamford?
Aguero.
Only got 9.
Against Stoke, yeah, because he missed one of the games. I think he came on, maybe possibly. I mean, as I said on a stream recently, part of the problem is I have triple captain Shane Duffy and Andy Carroll, so part of it is my own fault for sure. Don't ask how I got trapped into Andy Carroll, but yeah, I've never had. I think it was last year or the year before when I triple captained Mane and he went off injured in the first game. I've just had no luck. So if I can't get a big score from Salah against Norwich and Leeds, I'm giving up that chip.
I've had one blank from a triple captain, and that was, remember the year when Harry Kane had the sniffles?
Oh,
he had the red nose. I still captained him anyway.
Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah, Christmas, and he blanked and then got like 2 points against someone. I've done well with the triple captain. I captained Sanchez, I think, when he got like 25. Payet, I captained. I think he got 2 goals that week. I had Bamford last year, who got like 9, I think. Yeah, it's been an all right chip for me. So, yeah, probably.
I think I did Kane last year, and I'm sure it was Kane, and it was against Burnley and Fulham, maybe. And how he didn't score more goals against Fulham and Burnley, I just do not. I watched both the games on the stream. It was a nightmare, but he got 8 points, so he didn't beat Aguero's 9. Freaking nightmare.
It was horrible watching those games because pretty much everyone had gone for Kane triple captain because I'd used it on Bamford for a bit of fun, and I was quite happy with his 9. I think he scored like in the second game about 70 minutes in or something. It was a really good goal as well from outside the area. And that's the thing. I do understand why some people don't want to use the triple captain chip because it is fun to use it on a kind of a random player like that. But looking at it logically, and like I just keep saying, the triple captain is worth whatever points it gets. And if you've got the opportunity to use it on someone with this kind of...
What if I use it on a differential later on in the season?
Don't start. Don't start me off. I mean, yeah, it's fine. You can still captain him anyway. But yeah, Salah is obviously like I said, the best double game week I think I've ever seen for a player. Right, I think that's it. I will just use this opportunity before we go into our teams just to say we've got 1,700 people watching. If you are enjoying the stream, consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. I'm sure that everyone watching this is already subscribed to Let's Talk FPL anyway, but if you're not and you're enjoying what Andy has to say, then head over to his channel as well and make sure you subscribe to that, and then you can watch the billion videos that he posts every week and enjoy his live streams too. Right, let's talk about our teams. So this is your team on the screen. Do you want to just read out who you've got starting and who's on the bench for the podcast listeners? And yeah, tell us what mad hits you're planning on.
Yeah, so hopefully it's Foster in goal, double game week. Then Trent, Cancelo, Reguilon, Fernandes, Marcel, Bowen, Jota, Foden, Broja up front with Ronaldo and King. So I've only got 5 double game week players. And one of them is Jota as well, and one of them is Reguilon. So I think both of those players are probably unlikely to start twice. So it's not looking good.
That is some luck, isn't it? Unluck.
Yeah, it's not. It's
poor luck.
It's unlucky.
It's unlucky.
It's not great. It's not great, right? So I think I'm going to sell Jota. We haven't really spoken about that a lot. I know we've both said we're going to sell him, but we kind of have spoken about. I just think that, like we said earlier, I think he just misses one of these games now, and I just don't see why they need to kind of rush him back. And it looks like a lot of people are reporting now that he's potentially going to be in a race to get back for the final, which is after both of these games. So I think I'm going to sell him. To be honest, in some ways it kind of helps because a bunch of people have probably made early transfers and have got Jota, so that screws them over. But also, I was going to probably sell him in 27 anyway. And so obviously this way means I get to do it a week earlier and possibly have one less player blanking next week. So it's kind of handy. So Jota to Salah, and that's going to be funded from Ronaldo out. So that's -4. I think Ronaldo, I got to be honest, I could be here all day, but I don't. So I'm definitely free hitting in Game Week 30 because now I've got 0 players that definitely play in Game Week 30, right? So I've got to free hit them. And I've been listening to a lot of stuff, like watching Ben on Twitter, listening to kind of Planet FPL talk about fixtures. And I know that Game Week 33 could be a week where there's a few more double game weekers than maybe I've got in my team, and it could be a good time to save it for. But I'm really tempted to shift that and just free hit in 27 as well. And that would really change it would change a few transfers. So if I free hit in 27, I'll do Ronaldo to Lacazette. But otherwise, I'm probably going to go Weghorst, to be honest, just get him in ahead of back-to-back doubles.
Yep.
So right now the plan is Ronaldo to Weghorst, Jota to Salah, Trossard to Saka, and that would be my 3 blanking players then, Saka, Salah and Trent. So that's a -8.
I like it so far, yeah.
-8. Fernandes to Son, -12.
Not too sure about that one, but okay. Yep.
No one likes that move. I'm probably going to do it. And then here's the additional 2 hits. If I think Reguilon's not playing, then I might shift him to a different defender. I'm not quite sure who, to be honest, because if I go for another Arsenal player, that's one more player blanking in 27. So I've got to think about that. But Reguilon could go as well if I think he's going to be out, which I think Conte's going to confirm tomorrow, but we'll see. And then it's a question. What's your goalkeeper? What 2 goalkeepers have you got?
I've got Ramsdale and De Gea.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You got the perfect combination. Yeah. So I've got Foster and De Gea, and it's really annoying because I'd have to bench or sell a goalkeeper with a double game week, but I am tempted to do De Gea to Ramsdale as well, just to back against everyone else that's got him and just bench Foster. The only annoying thing is Foster's got Man United away in 27, whereas De Gea's got Watford at home. So ideally, I want to sell Foster, not De Gea, but I don't know if I can. But honestly, I'm going to take a -12, I think, and that could stretch to 16 or 17, 16 or 20, I think. It's just so, and I know it could be a wild card. I know what people are going to say, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit unsure. If I free hit in 27, I'm going to load up on Arsenal and just hope they get a double in 28.
I think you're kind of right, though. I think if you were going to wildcard, you need to have done it last week or the week before, because then you set yourself up for this week. I don't think you can really wildcard now. I think you just take the -12 on the hit. I mean, the Fernandes to Son move, I do think is a luxury move.
Do you think Fernandes outscores Son this week?
Yeah.
You think Fernandes outscores Son? Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I do. I don't think Spurs get anything against City.
Yeah, City, if it was any other game apart from City, Liverpool, Chelsea, it would be a bit of an easier sell. I get it, but I still just think Son can do damage against anyone. I just think Fernandes, people are getting a little bit giddy because of a last-minute goal.
United are the top attack over the last 6, and Leeds are the second to bottom defence.
But that's been the case for 5 to 6 weeks, and everyone wanted to sell him after Southampton. Everyone wanted to sell him after the first half. So I don't know, but the way I'm kind of approaching the hits is I have to do Ronaldo and Jota to Salah and a striker. That has to happen. I need Salah in. That makes sense, -4. And then I'm just judging each hit after that because, like I said, people will hear -16 and think it sounds awful. And obviously you don't want to be doing that too often. But if Reguilon's going to miss out, is he then worth a -4 to get another double game week defender in? He probably is. Fernandes is on, okay, fair enough, you don't like that. But then, again, with a goalkeeper move to get Ramsdale, that could also be worth it too. So it sounds crazy, but I think I'm going to do it. I think I just want to save that wild card for later on. I want a triple captain Salah. And I think if I wild card, I definitely have to free hit. Because if you wild card, you're definitely going to wild card into 3 Liverpool, 3 Arsenal. I just don't. Why would you not? Right? They've got the best fixtures. If you wild card and don't go for 6 players from those 2 teams, then that's a waste of the wild card. So therefore, you have to free hit in 27. Whereas I think I'd rather just take the hits, maybe use the free hit, but still have the wild card. And I just think it might be more worthwhile later on.
Honestly, I don't mind the hits. I think losing, De Gea, Reguilon. These are all upgrades that the 4-point hit will pay off if you're not going to be wildcarding in the next kind of couple of weeks. It's just that Fernandes to Son move this week for a -4.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's the only one. I think the rest of them are solid, to be fair. I
could keep Fernandes this week and then sell to Son the week after, possibly. But I don't know. I just think even if Son only had Burnley away, I think there's still a case to be made. I know how bad Leeds are, but I think Son is just more likely to get a goal than Fernandes is. But if Ronaldo doesn't play, then penalties might swing it for me. I'll have to think about that one.
Before I go on to my team, Medosio has given us a super chat. What is the derivation of Andy's slippers nickname? Does he just wear slippers on his streams?
God, no one knows this.
No.
Why do you still use this? Do you even know?
Mark and I are the only ones that use it. We did it.
And you didn't know last time I came on.
We do it. I think I might even have said the same thing, and you said no. Didn't we do like a late night stream that you came on in the evening to? And you were wearing slippers. Or a dressing gown. You were wearing a dressing gown. Dressing gown, that's it. Yeah, I do remember. And we called you slippers off the back of that.
I don't even own a pair of slippers.
That's why it's such a good nickname, though. Yeah, it's good. Good old slippers.
So.
Yeah. Does anyone call you that on your streams as well? Have we actually created a thing here?
Some people.
Some people, yes. It's good. And as a few other people mentioned, your deadline stream should be very interesting on Saturday as well.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I think I'm going to try and get my transfers done on Friday. I don't think I can take a deadline stream having to make transfers. The only problem is freaking more prices going up and down tonight. Like it's like Reguilon and Ronaldo might drop tonight in price. It's like, yeah, it's a nightmare.
You should do You should do a live stream of you doing your transfers anyway, even if you don't do the deadline stream. Because
no, I definitely do. I'm definitely doing the deadline stream. I just might not do the transfers on there. Might have them done already.
That's what the people want. That's what the people want, Andy. What was it you tweeted out the other day as well? Didn't someone tell you on the stream that you hadn't confirmed your?
I did my
bench?
transfers, and then hadn't saved the team.
Saved the team.
So I would have had Ronaldo captain, and I would have had Fernandes not captain, and I think I would have had someone else on the bench. I don't think it made a difference in the end, but yeah, that is a schoolboy error.
I love that. Okay, my team. So you can help me out now, or try to. My team is Ramsdale in goal, Trent, Cancelo, and Dean. Fernandes, Foden, Jota, Bowen, Ramsey, Ronaldo and King. On the bench, De Gea, Antonio, Livramento, and Johnson. My original plan was to do De Gea and Fernandes out for a non-playing goalkeeper and Salah, and that was nice and easy. I had that kind of planned. Now I'm thinking I want to sell Ronaldo, so I then thought, okay, I can sell Ronaldo and Jota, get in Lacazette and Salah. I'm 0.1 off doing that. So how can I make 0.1 and get another double game week player? It's difficult. I could sell Antonio for Weghorst or for Edouard, which is a potential that I'm thinking of. Because
you can't go for Edouard.
No, you can't. I can't go for Edouard, can I? So it has to be Weghorst.
Yeah,
I just don't want Weghorst at all. I don't want Jimenez either. Really, I just don't really know who else I could sell.
Yeah, there ain't two. Yeah, because obviously Johnson and Livramento, there's no money in them. It's pretty tough to. You're free hitting in 27 though, right?
Yeah, definitely free hitting in 27.
Yeah, I mean you could do Ronaldo to Lacazette, Jota to Salah, and Luka Dean to Ben White. Maybe get another double game week player this week. Get an extra fixture for that hit, and obviously you're free hitting them out anyway in 27. And then
doesn't feel good though. It doesn't feel good selling Dean at home to Watford.
I honestly don't. Well, the only other option is Foden, right? Or you downgrade Fernandes to Son.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Foden, I don't think Foden is going to hit huge hauls. I mean, I could even sell Foden to someone like Saka. I think Foden's, if you're free hitting in 27, Everton away, where he play, I think that's a pretty good sell because the other fixtures are Spurs and United. I know they're not. I know we shouldn't see Spurs and United as tough fixtures, but do you know what I mean? For Man City, it's maybe on the tougher end of the spectrum, possibly. I don't know about Foden. Maybe he's a sell. Possibly. Yeah, because I think I'd be looking to get Sterling. I think in 28 because I'd be keeping Fernandes, and then in 28 I could move Fernandes to Sterling or even De Bruyne, in theory. But yeah, I don't know. It is an interesting one. I mean, a few people mentioning Broja in the chat. I mean, I could do Antonio to Broja.
That's a good point. Yeah, actually,
for example,
I forgot about him.
Which is a nice move because I think Broja is such good value going forward. And then I'd probably play him over Ramsey.
Yeah, I like that.
I think against Everton. So yeah, I do quite like that. J55 Foden Dan James. Oh God, what have I done? But yeah, I think it probably will be Ronaldo. It probably will be Ronaldo out. I think I probably will sell Jota, depending on what Klopp says tomorrow. All the rumours seem to indicate going round that he's a doubt for the cup final, let alone Norwich and Leeds. So it's very likely he's going to be out. And I don't think I'm going to triple up on Liverpool because I don't think I'm going to move the funds into defence. Maybe Van Dijk would be the one to get, but yeah, I think I'd prefer to target Lacazette. Okay, Mark did me a fancy graphic for his team. He's on a -4. He's got Ramsdale, Trent, Reguilon, Cancelo, Foden, Salah, Bowen, Jota, Broja, Antonio, and Dennis, and then a bench of De Gea, Dunk, Martinelli, and Dalot. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double game week players, but Reguilon's a doubt. Jota's probably not going to play, so he's potentially down to 4. He's got Dennis, who's probably not going to get anything, and he's on a hit as well. So he's not
exactly taken the hit.
Yeah, that's what he's got there. He's got the -4 on there. So I don't think he's looking in that great. I'm not sure what his hits for here. I don't know why -4 is
Where's
on the screen.
I'm going to pull up his other team. What league is he in? All I know is he's below me for the 3rd season running.
It's in the mods and cons.
Oh, he's got rid of. Oh, he's got Dunk. So hang on, Dallo Dunk. He's still got. Okay, he's still got all of his defense. So something else he's done. Oh, Ronaldo. He sold Ronaldo to Broja, and he's bought in Salah for Martinelli. No. Salah for Foden, Jota for Mount.
Okay. So Salah for Mount.
Now,
and
I wonder, had he not done that move, or I reckon he's regretting that, because had he not done that move, Mason Mount possibly double game week 28 could be back fit. Now Jota's got the injury. He would have sold Jota instead, I think.
It could be that this is his what he's gonna do. Yeah. This is what he sent me. But yeah, okay. Still though, -4 with only a handful of double game week players won't be the position that he'll want to be in this week.
He's going to take some more hits for sure.
I think he could. I think he's almost certainly getting up with a -8. I wouldn't be too surprised if he took another one on top of that as well.
I wonder if he. Yeah, I don't know how much money he's got in the bank. And turning it to a double game week forward like Lacazette might be on the cards. I don't know when he's using his free hits. So that's the only thing. But if he has,
he's not using one in 27. He's told me that. He's definitely using.
Fair enough.
Definitely using that in 30.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Disgusting super chat from him. Just says, what about Firmino? Great double game with Jota out. We did touch on him. I mean, he doesn't feature really in the forwards list in terms of these kind of XG per minute, expected goal involvement. He did well in the Champions League, I thought, though. He struggled initially to get into the game, but then in the last 15-20 minutes, he was key, I think, to that win. He held the ball up really well, brought others into play, scored a good goal as well. I think he's an option, potentially, if Jota is confirmed out.
Yeah, I think I just don't like Firmino.
No, nor do I.
I get why people are thinking about it, because if he is out, the chances are he probably plays both games. I don't know if they would play Mane or Diaz or Salah through the middle. So I think he would probably play both games. But it just feels way too short term. He has no game in 27. And then by the time game week 28 comes around, Jota could be back. And then you have the rotation issues. The only way I'd maybe look at Firmino is if I was free hitting in 26. Maybe then. But I don't know if I'd spend a transfer on him.
Yep. Fair enough. Blackbox Leagues. So we've got James S, Larry of Brest in rank 1 of that. Lucas, Brett, Ruben, Stephen, Tor, Paul, Christian, Will, Baxter, and our mate FPL Focal, Oscar. Round up the top 10. In the Apprentice Leagues, I'm top 1649. I'm now 128 points ahead of Mark, which is ridiculous. I can't believe there's that much of a gap between us. Natalie is closing up on Mark, my apprentice. She's only 31 points behind him. Henry, though, who has not had access to Twitter or stats or anything, is massively struggling, down in 4th with 1365. So 125 points behind Natalie. So the little experiment we've done, I think, just shows that having all this information and arming ourselves is important for this game, rather than just watching games and being interested in football, which is at least encouraging that we're not wasting our time with these 2-hour-long streams looking at stats and data. The ticker, the Fantasy Football Scout Fixtures ticker, has Burnley at the top with their 2 doubles coming up. Wolves are in second. Then you've got Southampton, Watford, Spurs. Down the bottom, United are now bottom of the difficulty ticker, given that they've got 2 good-looking games against Leeds and Watford, but then play City, Spurs, and Liverpool from 28 to 30. So that's the time to jump off them. West Ham as well, with Liverpool, Villa, and Tottenham from 28. This is why I think wildcards are going to be played around 28, because people are going to be jumping off West Ham, jumping off United, potentially moving for Chelsea players who've got Burnley, Newcastle, Norwich to follow. Wolves as well, Crystal Palace, Everton, Leeds. There's some, there's a bit of a fixture swing, isn't there, around 28 that we could kind of potentially tap into. So yeah, interesting. Going to be an interesting few weeks, I think. Just before we finish, I just want to do my weekly plug for the FPL challenge. This was set up by FPL Greece. Share the meal. Mark and I are donating £5 for every green arrow that we get. If there's a description of this in the a link to this in the description below, if you want to get involved, all the money goes to feeding hungry people around the world. Really nice charity to get involved with. Another charity as well is this North versus South match, which is set up by Benny Blanco. You can purchase tickets now. It's in Birmingham. The money goes to Street Child United. It's being billed as Gameweek 39. There's some prominent names from Twitter playing in this match. I'm scheduled to play for the South, but I might have a hernia, which I'm getting checked out next week.
That would not be good.
Which would probably rule me out of it. I think, unless I got it sorted very quickly, not through the NHS, because I think there's about an 18-month waiting list. So yeah, I'm a yellow, probably an orange flag for this going forward. But I will definitely be there. And if you're interested in getting tickets, again, there's a link to this in the description below. It will be a laugh, whatever happens. I mean, there's people like Hindu Monkey lining up for the North. Gianni's going to be playing. FPL Raptor will be there, who's a really, really good football player, sort of ex-semi-pro. So yeah, should be a laugh. And it's in Birmingham, the UK, 2 p.m. kickoff. Would you make it down for that, Andy?
Possibly, yeah. I'm going to see closer to the time.
That'd be cool.
See what's happening.
Be good to see you. But other than that, that is us. I also, Dealey's right. I can't believe Gianni's playing for the North either. I was disgusted by that. But other than that, that is it. Andy, thank you so much for joining me on Blackbox. It's been brilliant. But rolling back the years back to our Scoutcast days. But normally we have Mark, don't we, here kind of hosting. So hopefully it hasn't been too weird with me doing the job for him.
It hasn't been that bad.
Oh, thanks, mate. It's high praise from you. When Mark's back, we'll have to do another one of these. And do another late night stream where we can see the dressing gown, and I'll send you some slippers for your birthday.
Can I just say quickly before we go, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but Fernandez has played Leeds 3 times. He scored 5 goals and got 1 assist. 2 returns on average a game.
You can't sell him, mate.
I'll see. I might need the money, to be honest, at this point for all the other moves.
Yeah, well, I definitely wouldn't sell him, but it's up to you, your team. Play your own game, as General tweeted out earlier.
Exactly.
Yep. Nice. Thanks everyone in the chat. We will see. Well, I'll be back next week. I don't know who I'll be with. Maybe it'll be Mark. Maybe it'll be someone else. Who knows? I have to see what he says. But thanks everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers.